Okay, let's start the show.
It's September 27th, 2013. Welcome to This Is Only a Test, the official podcast of Tested.com. I'm Will Smith. Those uncomfortable hand gestures you just saw on the YouTube stream were completely incomprehensible to me, but maybe Norman Chan can explain.
Didn't want to interrupt the fabulous intro. Today's the 26th. It's Thursday.
Oh, today is Thursday. Oh, that's fine. Well, it's the 26th, guys. Joining us, as has become his... you're becoming a frequent guest. I like this, Jeremy Williams.
I like it too.
We're glad to have you back, man.
You're the Colin Kaepernick.
Well, as most people think of me, I'm not Gary, but I'm happy to sit in.
You know, it's funny. I've learned over the last few weeks when Gary has returned, because he had maybe let's say 3 or 4 months where he was kind of not around a lot. There are factions within the This Is Only a Test listening community. There are old school listeners who are strongly pro Gary. YouTube really dislikes Gary. It seems like, yeah.
Oh, no. Haters?
They accuse him of interrupting and being rude, which is, that seems right.
I don't think he's talking about Gary.
Seems hypocritical for a YouTuber.
Do you think people listen to the podcast wearing the Gary T-shirts, and then
we sold a fair number of those Gary T-shirts.
Get frustrated when it's not Gary.
They're just here for Gary.
They break them out once a week,
and they're sitting there hopefully as they wait for the podcast to download, and then they start it up and they're like, oh
Jeremy, if you had Williams. A T-shirt, if you had a Blockhead T-shirt, what would your accessories be and your saying?
Oh my gosh! Well,
so
I don't know.
I have a coffee mug. Norm carries an iPhone, which is now wildly inappropriate.
I think it would be cool if I had like a 2600 controller. That would be fun.
Or like a little pinball machine.
Yeah. Well, I guess that'd be fun.
Yeah. So yeah, welcome back to the show, Jeremy. It's good to have you back, man. We have had an eventful 7 days since last we spoke. Let's see. I think last time
so many lies in last week's podcast.
Yeah, I thought I was going to New York, and I had a sick baby, so I didn't go. You saw a bunch of readers and viewers and people who know us though when you were at Maker Faire, right? Were there other
kick
ones?
Off with some New York talk?
I think New York is a good place to start this show.
Wow. Okay.
What is it? Would you rather start something else?
I know there are a lot of topics to talk about.
We have a fair number of high dollar topics.
So this is the World Maker Faire?
Yeah, so Maker Faire is run by Make Media now. It used to be O'Reilly, the publisher.
Well, Make Media is O'Reilly. They spun off.
They spun off. It's no longer the same company.
It's the same people, though.
Yeah, it's the same people running it.
Yeah.
But they were no longer associated with O'Reilly.
That happened in January.
Yeah. So Make Media, a great publisher of DIY books, magazine and stuff. They host Maker Faire. Bay Area is technically where it started. Bay Area Maker Faire. And World Maker Faire, it's not any more international, I think.
They just call it that because it's the world's fairgrounds, right?
I think that's likely the case. It's not like it's International Comic-Con where people fly from around the world. If anything, I think Bay Area Maker Faire is probably a more diverse selection of makers. There
were a lot more Canadians in New York last year.
If that makes it international, sure.
Canada's international.
Just proximity-wise. But just going through all the exhibit listings, there are way more exhibits in the Bay Area Maker Faire.
So it's a bigger venue, and there's more like inside space where they have those little. You've been to Maker Faire, right, Jeremy?
I have, yeah. I've never been to the World Maker Faire though. That sounds bigger, but you're saying it's actually a smaller.
I think it's actually
venue.
Smaller. Yeah, it's a little more manageable. But it's at the World's Fairgrounds, the World's Fair.
Yeah, it's where you remember at the end of Men in Black 1 where the spaceships take off from where the World's Fair was? It's that place. 1913, 1906, 1942.
It's in Manhattan somewhere?
Queens.
It's in Queens.
Oh, okay.
So outside, it's about a half an hour subway ride from Manhattan.
Sorry. I was going to say the big difference for me last year when we were there is that, that big hangar at San Francisco at the Bay Area Maker Faire where they have dozens of 6-foot tables set up and there's all sorts of little people that have crazy and awesome stuff in there.
The hangar is the dark room.
Well,
the curved building.
Okay, so there's the dark room and then there's also the crafts and small people booths. And those are like, that's my favorite part of Maker Faire, because there's usually awesome, crazy stuff in there.
Me too.
And they don't kind of have that as much at World Maker Faire. There's not a big open area just packed with tables.
Why are they calling it World Maker Faire and not like New York Maker Faire?
Like I say, I think it's New York's World Maker Faire, probably because it's at the World's Fair.
It's confusing though.
I think we're overthinking this.
Anyway, we went last year, so we thought it would be fun to go again this year, and still very fun trip. I made it a shorter trip this year because last year we went there. We stayed in New York for a whole week, which is much more time than we ever needed to be there. But we got it out of our system. Went and saw a couple cool places. Saw the space shuttle, the Enterprise. One of the orbiters didn't actually fly into space. It was the test orbiter.
We went to some of the museums, like you went to the Museum of the Moving Image, and
that was more like downtime. That was in Queens, Smithsonian, or not Smithsonian,
American Natural
History Museum. Yeah. But in terms of like people we met and makers we met and videos we shot, went to the Bot Cave, which is the MakerBot. Their home, what was their home base. They're no longer there now. They're now in the Bot Tower. It's very Batman-like. They have a Bot Cave. No.
Oh, okay.
Because they got investment and they have more people now, so they're in a like a whole floor of a big part of a floor of a skyscraper.
I think last year, aside from the Enterprise trip, which was pretty amazing, we went to Resistor NYC, which was one of the first hack spaces.
Yeah, I know about it. Yeah.
And like I remember reading about that probably in the early 2000s when they were like, "Hey, we would like to have a laser cutter, but we don't have $25,000. How can the 10 of us figure out a way to get $25,000 and buy a laser cutter?" And they started etching people's like laptops and iPods and stuff like that in exchange, which allowed them to fund at the time a $25,000 machine. Which was kind of unheard of. That was the first time I'd ever heard of like normal people without a business or without any. And that space that they were in is crazy because it's in like the third floor of an old turn of the last century warehouse where the wood stairs are just 3-inch thick slabs of wood that have kind of worn away over the last 120 years, 115 years. It was amazing. It was really cool.
I know Adafruit is in New York. I bet they had a big presence at Maker Faire.
Not really.
That's surprising.
Yeah, it was surprising. Arduino had a big booth. When I say booth, these are under tents. They call them pavilions. So there's like a maker pavilion, a 3D printing pavilion, and it's just like festival style tents. Were there more tables? Not more space. I mean, it was very. Like, I thought it was some of that tent space was a little poorly designed. That
cupcake cars?
No cupcake cars. So less stuff like moseying around like the alleys. You don't see the giant giraffe robot. You don't see the Mondo spider. People are walking around for sure, but it's less festive.
It's less Burning Man and more like MIT. If that there's a lot of cool robot stuff. Or there was last year. Was there more drone stuff this year? I kind of expected to see more drones.
No, just the big growth was 3D printing. I mean, there was a whole section for 3D printing, 3D printers, and also in the Maker Pavilion, which was supposed to be dedicated for independent projects like Kickstarter startups and stuff like that. A bunch of 3D printers there also.
It's going to be 3D printers for a while.
And I had hoped that there would be more, maybe one or two just experiments in 3D scanning.
Yeah,
none.
Well, no. Maker's doing one.
Only MakerBot.
Yeah, they had the digitizer there, right?
That's it. So let's talk about the stuff we saw at Maker Faire. Okay. Some of these videos, about 2 of them will be on the site by the time you watch this, listen to the podcast. There was OpenROV was there. We did a nice talk with OpenROV. These are the 2 people, Eric Stackpole and Dave Lang, who developed an open source.
Just to be clear, not Dive Kick. This is David Lang, not Dave Lang. Yeah.
There's a lot of Davids and Daves in there. Who founded this company, design a underwater robot that you can, it's tethered.
It's cheap.
And it's relatively cheap, under $1,000, but it's actually something that can be used not just for silliness and fun to put in a pool, but for actual exploration and academic research.
Well, it's one of those things that's cheap compared to
the stuff James Cameron uses,
or even like the stuff that universities use, right? Like previously, they can buy. I think when we first talked to David and Eric, they basically said, "Look, for what you would normally spend on a drone that is flaky and impossible to fix if it breaks when you're on location someplace, we can sell them 8 or 10." and if the wire breaks and they lose one, it's bad, but it's not that big a deal. So they're on on version 2.5 of their design now.
Yeah,
right?
So we saw 2.5, which it's actually very different from their 2.4. A completely new chassis design, a camera that can go up and down, and of course it's all open design. So if you had your access to materials and laser cutter and electronics, you can just download designs and build your own. But they do sell the kits. And they also just got funding, so it's great for them. They're expanding. The cool stuff is that if you check their blog, you'll just see where their robot has gone with scientists. So it's dived in Mexico and actually made some cool discoveries.
Do you know how deep it can go?
I want to say 1,000 feet.
It's real. It's like the way the design works, like the sealed compartment, the place where water can't get, is relatively robust. So it's just cut plexi and cut pipe, and you seal that together so it can go crazy deep. The limit is usually like how far you can go without getting wires tangled and stuff like that.
Oh, so it's wired.
100 meters.
It's wireless. Kind of.
Yeah.
300 feet.
Yeah. So in 300 feet, they've taken it into like cenotes and in the Yucatan, and gone deep enough to get into the saltwater layers of the cenotes. So it's one of those places where the water, where the ocean, the water from the ocean comes in underneath the whole floating, the whole peninsula basically floats, as I understand it. And the water from the ocean comes in underneath, and they can go through the saltwater, the salt freshwater barrier, and do things that would be kind of dangerous for a person to do.
Yeah, it's about duration underwater, and also not just depth, but like just the crevices that you can go in. And they will have accessories that you can attach to robotic arms in the future and stuff like that.
Did I see that they're using that at Aquarius now too?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. So we talked to OpenRV. There's also a couple of small projects like a robotic barista for pour over coffee. I think that video is on the site now.
Cool.
We talked to Ted Souther.
Did you try the coffee?
Did try the coffee.
Was it good?
It was good.
It was okay?
It was free good coffee.
Okay.
And the guys knew what they were talking about. 5 stages of pouring.
What did it do? Like a
Pre-wet.
swizzle method? Like a spinner thing?
It's 2 axis. So one axis is moving between the 5 different cups, and then one is to rotate it in a circular shape.
So this is beyond what I see at half the Starbucks these days, which is a push button system.
Yeah, and this is just like 2 guys. They're not going to sell it. They just wanted to see if they could do it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's a bunch of commercial like pour over things. Bun makes one that's not very good. There's a guy named Bill Crossland who used to work for La Mazzocco who makes what is reputed to be a really good one. I haven't actually tried coffee from it.
Yeah. This is more like just a fun robot. Like the ones you see at like the bar bots kind of thing. They can automate and program.
This is what Pee Wee Herman would have in the morning.
Yes, absolutely. It's very Wallace and Gromit, Pee Wee Herman.
Well, and a lot of the stuff, even like OpenRV, started as a hey, can we do this? Like, and then they happened to realize that there was a market for it.
I like that the ambition for a lot of people are not to take things to market. It's just like they have the tools. So some of them are just engineers and designers and programmers, and they're working on other stuff for the real jobs. And then these are things they build in their garage for fun, just to see if they can, because they have the parts,
or because they want the thing. I mean, that's like why you built the pinball table lights, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's why Adam builds most of the stuff that he builds. It's because he wants the thing that he gets at the end.
So other notable things, we did see the digitizer. Had a fun talk with MakerBot, one of the developers, web developers of MakerBot. Talk about digitizer. It's much bigger than I thought it'd be.
Well, it has to be because it has to hold the thing, right?
The photos make it look. It has a pretty big.
It's like bigger than a replicator.
Yeah, footprint. The footprint is probably bigger than about the size of the replicator footprint.
Is it like bigger than your pad that you're?
It's bigger than that pad, which I thought was pretty big.
I'd love to know like a quick, rundown on that thing. Is it how expensive is it going to be?
$1,400.
How long does it take to scan?
It takes a while. So it rotates pretty slowly. I want to say it's about 15 minutes to scan something. About 8 by 8 by 8 is the max size.
Does it use lasers and cameras?
It's 2 lasers and 1 camera, which is not new because we've seen like laser scanners like that.
Why is it so expensive then?
It's because it's mostly the software, and so the software is what turns the laser. So it's all point scanning. So the lasers bounce in camera, and they calculate very fine points.
Yeah. And
converting that point scan into a mesh that the MakerWare software can read is the magic.
Well, typically when you 3D scan something, you have to go in, open up the model in SolidWorks or something, and kind of go through and fix all the problems that would make it not
print like
right.
a cloud of points,
and you don't have to do that.
You don't have to do that. They're claiming that what it scans, as long as the model doesn't have like a lot of overhangs and things aren't obscured and the lighting's good.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Then
or voids in the middle.
Yeah.
Then the mesh is going to be solid enough that cylindrical shapes will work best, but you can just press the button and it'll go to the MakerBot and not have to do a lot of fine tuning. You can, but not as much fine tuning.
Is this software going to be open sourced or no?
No.
No, there's no chance.
Yeah, MakerWare is private now.
Okay. Oh, interesting. So even the MakerBot is completely closed now?
No, the Mighty board, the board design for the guts of the thing is still basically a Replicator 1 board. They had bits and pieces of Replicator G and MakerWare until fairly recently. I think they pulled them out now too. So I think I could be wrong. Maybe there's parts of Miracle Grew or which is what their slicers used to be called. I can't remember what they call it now. They may have bits and pieces that are open still, but for the most part, it's all gone closed. It seems like they got really freaked out when that guy started selling Chinese-made clones of the Replicator 1 and just changed the branding. Like just basically downloaded their plans, sent them to Alibaba or somebody, and said, "Hey, make these." And his Kickstarter didn't get funded, but my hunch is that the people that had given them millions of dollars to build the business in the venture capital world lost their shit. I don't know. But it's speculation.
So what I'm more excited about is this scanner, which was not at Maker Faire, which is the Matterform 3D scanner. There's an Indiegogo project, another crowdfunded project a couple months ago, and it was like $400. It's supposed to be portable. It like collapses, and it does what looks like pretty accurate scans. I have one of those coming in, so I'm early on that.
Oh, nice.
On the Indiegogo.
So is this going to ship before the MakerBot scanner?
You know what? Because this is a smaller company and they've already been delayed a couple months. Digitizer is shipping October. Yeah. So people will probably get digitizers in the before.
That's cool.
It's soon.
Okay. The Matterform, even the retail on that is like $600 though. Yeah. So,
but half the price, less than half the price.
That's one of those things that I kind of feel like the people who are in the market for a 3D scanner, for the most part, are going to be people who are going to already have SolidWorks and are already going to be proficient with that stuff. Because I don't know, like even if the digitizer works exactly as they're advertising, it's still not like a Xerox machine for 3D objects.
Well, if you're there, it sounds like the MakerBot guys are claiming it will be.
They really want to use that photocopying analogy, and we did talk a little bit about that. I'm not going to spoil some of that conversation. It was a little fun, like what happens if you print something, scan it, print it, scan it, print it, scan it.
Yeah. So it degrades. I can imagine that there is an audience of people who are waiting for a scanner before they jump into printing.
Yeah, maybe, but I mean, even the printing stuff, even 3.5, 4 years into 3D printing, as a kind of more accessible thing, it's still not. It still requires a fair amount of touch. Yeah. Like it's not as simple as just downloading or printing, saving your model, sending it to the machine and printing. You still have to adjust stuff. You still have to kind of constantly be fiddling with the machine. And
I'm holding out.
Dot matrix still.
That's what I think. We're still in the dot matrix days. I can't wait till we get color and smoother prints.
I think you look at stuff like the laser sintering stuff and the stuff like the UV photoreactive stuff that Formlabs has done, and I feel like that's probably closer to the next level than the additive processing that we see now.
Formlabs probably. I mean, laser sintering is much bigger machines.
Yes,
and material is way different.
Well, the material is much cheaper in a lot of cases for the sintering stuff because it's just like styrofoam plastic.
A little more cleanup, right?
There's a little more cleanup, and you have to have a bin of the stuff. Yeah. So
it's like the powder.
It's like a big. And probably that powder, if I had to guess, is probably not real good to breathe.
No, that's in labs. But the idea of 3D printers, the idea of rapid prototyping, making little things like trinkets and things that you can, whether you need prototypes for hardware or things to fix your home with, that's like an easy story to sell, things that make sense. A 3D scanner, if you're already like a computer modeler, what would you need a 3D scanner for?
Yeah, I'm not a 3D modeler.
Okay, so like if you want to get some like Sculpey, you want to sculpt some figurines and then put it through this 3D scanner and then tweak it.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to get a better result if you do the 3D modeling, no doubt. I mean, I can't imagine under any circumstance under which you wouldn't. But the scanner's going to give you a really easy in if you're not a modeler.
Yeah, and it's all being about software. So there's going to be a lot of like I imagine, a lot of user-friendly software. So when you scan things, it'll be like like a Spore style,
right,
like easy sculpting.
I can't wait to see how 3D printing affects the toy industry. I mean, it's going to be an incredible
a lot of rights management.
Not only that, but a whole new market for downloadable toys.
Yeah.
So would you talk to?
Hold on. Actually, do kids still play with action? Your son is getting close to like where I would have been an action
6.
figure age. Is he into that stuff, or is it just boring because it's not interactive?
We haven't really done action figures so much. He's more into Legos, which he plays with those action figures.
Okay.
The little Lego guys, and Matchbox cars.
I can tell you, kids are still into action figures.
I can imagine they are.
I kind of wondered because it's like
he's into Minecraft.
I mean, more adults are in action figures now than were maybe 5 years ago. That's for sure. But I think if you go to Target and you go to maybe not Toys R Us, it doesn't exist anymore. But any big box store, then aisles and aisles of action figures.
But with this new customization generation, with things like Minecraft, if he could actually design his own toy and print it out. And customize it and maybe email his friends the same head that he just made. I mean, that's phenomenal. That's a whole new generation of toy making.
And also embedding electronics. That's probably the next big thing also.
Yes, bring it on.
I mean, talking about that's going to do for action figures what? Like for Disney Infinity and what's the other one? The
Skylanders.
Skylanders, right.
Well, I mean, for me, when I was your son's age, I was like super into Star Wars, and most of my the time that my parents gave me I've been thinking about this stuff more for obvious reasons.
Right. You had the Darth Vader carrying case?
I had the C-3PO one.
Oh, nice.
But yeah. I mean, making up my own Star Wars stories, because I probably hadn't seen, at that point, I had only seen Star Wars on CBS and maybe Return of the Jedi, but never Empire Strikes Back because it was too scary.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So, I just made up my own stories and flew around my own, universe. And sometimes there were Transformers there, and sometimes there were, whatever else was around. But I'm glad to hear kids are still doing
imaginative play. We try to encourage that more. There's so much desire for screen time, which is basically video games or cartoons.
Yeah.
The hardest thing is limiting that because they push so hard.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have a 9-month-old, and she already, if there's an iPhone in crawling distance, she goes for it. Like it might as well put out a piece of crack.
I heard you say you think you're getting a hug, but she just wants that iPhone.
Just wants the iPhone. Yeah. It's cold, ice cold. So what else in Maker Faire, Norm?
We talked to Ted Southern, who is one of the co-founders of Final Frontier Design. This is a really interesting story. We had this on the site, actually, a feature about these guys. There are two guys in Brooklyn. One who used to be a fashion designer, who he's not it's not his biggest story, but everyone talking about how he used to design the wings for Victoria's Secret models.
Okay.
Working the fashion business.
He makes angels.
He did at one point in his life. But he's like a materials guy, fabrics guy.
Okay.
And he is working with this other guy, Nick, who's this Russian dude. And very, very Russian dude who
be
used to work for, be a contractor for Roscosmos and design spacesuits for Russian cosmonauts. One of the private contracting companies, not actually the Russian Space Agency. He's in the U.S. now, and the two worked together to, a couple years ago, enter a competition. NASA has many competitions, like challenges, and they won second place, designing a glove that was better, beat the specs that NASA needed, a space glove. And now they design spacesuits as a small private company.
Well, the glove thing, when we were at Houston, we got to try on one of the spacesuit gloves, and I didn't realize, in order for them to not balloon up and be unusable when the suits are pressurized against the vacuum, they had to be insanely tight. The astronauts who are outside doing fine motor stuff have to have unbelievable finger and hand strength to be able to do that for 8 or 10 hours or however long the spacewalk happens to go, just to fight the glove when it wasn't pressurized that we were putting. It was. I mean, I think the glove probably fit you better than it did me. Yeah. But it was.
And we also didn't get the real experience of the pressurization.
Well, of course, but it was uncomfortably tight. I got to imagine that somewhere where astronauts are sitting at their desk, the 99% of time that they aren't in space, they're just working those little mountain climbing, the spring things.
So that was super cool, and kids got to put their hands in the glove in a little pressure chamber and try to solve Rubik's cubes and stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, a bunch of other stuff. Cast AR was there. which I know, Jeremy, you're probably interested in. That's Jerry Ellsworth's company with Rick Johnson, 2 ex-Valve employees who left and have their own little augmented reality. It's not really augmented reality.
Yeah, it's totally augmented reality, but it's not.
If you talk to I had a long conversation at E3 with Palmer Luckey, where he said this is not augmented reality.
It's definitely augmented into the world, but it's not augmented things.
It's not in the traditional right.
It's not overlaying on the world. It's overlaying on a specific
surface. Yeah. But it's projecting.
Are you a believer?
So we didn't do a video with them because they didn't have their newest prototypes, which we will be doing something very soon. I can't say exactly specific dates, but they have said that their Kickstarter is going to launch sometime in October.
Oh, interesting.
So we will be doing something around that time with them.
We should explain what it is, though. Again,
so these are glasses.
We did a video at Maker Faire in San Francisco
when they first unveiled it.
Yeah, with the earliest of early prototypes.
So these are glasses that you wear, and instead of like the Oculus Rift, where you're looking at a screen, what you're looking at is in the nose of the glasses is a projector, and the projector projects out in front of you. But when you look at a specific reflective surface...
Is it not 2 projectors?
It's 2 projectors. Because, yes, it's 3D. So when you look at a specific type of reflective surface, which is like this cheap mat that they'll sell, it'll bounce back into your eyes, and there's polarization, and so you see 3D. But basically, the canvas of where you screen, it's literally a canvas. It can be as big as you want it to be. And it could be 3-dimensional, your screen. So as opposed to
you have diminishing light the further it goes, just like any projector.
Yes. But in a dark environment, it worked at Maker Faire. It worked really well on a fairly big, like a 4x4, 5x5 piece of the material.
So the idea is that instead of looking at a 30-inch monitor or even 3 30-inch monitors, where the benefit of that is that you get to look left and right and you get bigger field of view. It's only the screen moves with you. And you're only limited by how much canvas you have and the way you arrange it. And that offers a lot of interesting game design opportunities where you can talk about like looking at mazes, 3D chess. These things are interactive because you have there are camera sensors that will spot wands and other accessories, and maybe gloves in the future.
And also the canvas has lights so that multiple people can participate. And the system will know where everyone's head is at. So you can have a shared experience around this canvas with 3, 4, 5 people, however many people you have, because of the way the projection and reflection thing works. So for example, Norm can stick his wand into the model, and I'll see it rendered in the exact right place. Like the virtual thing and Norm's wand, it will be in the right place as well. And it's really cool.
The thing that makes it work, just like the Oculus, is advances in motion sensing technology. Just cheaper motion sensors that allow way more accurate tracking of where your head is, because it is head tracking.
So that when your head moves, the video image tracks it instantly.
Exactly, for perspective changes. Yeah. So it looks like you're actually looking around a 3D environment as opposed to a screen moving in front of you.
The analogy from film isn't like Minority Report or Johnny Mnemonic or something like that. It's the chess that R2-D2 and Chewbacca play on the Millennium Falcon in Star Wars, and like the big Death Star 3D representation where it's a shared something that a bunch of people can sit around and see rather than a solitary experience.
So coincidentally, their tech demo that they will be launching with the Kickstarter is that 3D chess from Star Wars.
Oh, really?
It'll be called Let the Wookiee Win.
That's nice.
Yeah, that's good.
The thing that's most interesting to me about this project, and the thing that I think is its biggest hurdle, is that there's no existing infrastructure or game type that easily translates to it.
Yeah.
It's ground up a brand new platform,
which is exciting, but also
that you can't run Doom on.
Right. So that's the problem.
The demo they showed was a 3D shooter that was one of those. It's built into Unity that you get that demo, and they said and as developers like to say, it was only just like an hour of work to port it over to get it working. So they're announcing I think. Well,
but while Oculus works with Jeremy's point is it like where Oculus works with anything that's first person or theoretically works with a little bit of effort with anything that's a first person perspective or that is like a virtual cockpit kind of view. This is a completely new thing, and there's going to be a ramp up period while developers figure out what to do with it.
Games. I mean, this is a perfect strategy game simulator. You get your canvas is your board. Is like that game. What was that Ubisoft game, Ruse? Where it was like you're like a commander in front of a giant table. Like you imagine the battlefield, and then you just look around and move your characters around.
Or you could play board games with people across the country. Yeah, like your virtual partner.
Very excited for that. Yeah. That was another thing we saw, and a bunch of other small things.
There's what you said. There's like 4, 5, 6 videos from Maker Faire.
6 things from Maker Faire. Yeah. We didn't get a chance to talk to many. I mean, we talked to 3D printer guys, but didn't shoot many video of them. It's too difficult to be comprehensive in that space now.
Well, the way you find out what like most of the things that are in the 3D printer space are products that are being sold now. So like, you need to test them to know if they're like just talking about it doesn't cut it anymore.
There's a guy walking around with a 3D printer that runs on batteries.
There's a Kickstarter this week for a $100 3D printer.
Yeah, I saw that.
He designed it himself with like household parts where a drip of water connects 2 contacts every time the water drips, which raises the reservoir but also fires off a circuit. It's completely MacGyver, and it looks really cool. $100 3D printer.
I saw this yesterday, but I can't remember what it's called.
I don't know.
Do you remember?
No.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
$100 is, I mean, that's like the Kindle sweet spot. It's commodity pricing for new electronics.
Okay, so what other stuff? Did you get the halal cart?
Okay, so Maker Faire was Saturday and Sunday.
Let's get to the important stuff.
And that was the main purpose of the trip. But outside of Maker Faire, we also had opportunities to see 3 very cool things that we shot videos for. One was Nathan Sawaya, who is probably the most famous Lego artist in the world. He, according to his Wikipedia page, in certain art rankings, is the 8th most well-known in terms of living artist in the world right now because of his Lego art.
There's art rankings? Like is this like Metacritic for art?
Some sort of popularity rankings. Jeremy, you might have seen his work as the Yellow is his most famous piece. It's the Lego man who tears his chest open and spills out Lego. Anyway, he has been doing this about 10 years and has actual gallery exhibits all around the world in New York and Israel and all sorts of places. We actually visited his exhibit and got a private tour and talked to him about the art of building Lego and how do you sculpt with Lego.
Is he an actual, like, is he a Lego employee or is he just a
so he used to Lego? I think early in his career he contracted with Lego a little bit, but now he's completely independent.
Okay.
He is Lego as a company, very protective of what people do with their stuff, even though you can't.
Yeah, they don't want any Lego penises.
Well, too late. Lego, they will hire and grant the title of Lego Grand Master or Master Builder. And there was a big story last year of like the youngest American Master Builder, and there are very few of these. It's like being a Master Jedi, basically, right? And you have to go through your trials. And I talked to Nathan a little bit about, because he actually has that title, but he doesn't use it, because when you have that title, you're the guy who goes to like shopping malls and build stuff for conventions and
like anytime you see a big life-size Yoda that's a Grandmaster, probably
built by a Lego Master,
or at least designed by,
or at the Lego store, those big displays and dioramas, like those are built by Lego Masters. He didn't want to do that because he's a sculptor and he wanted to do his own stuff, right? But he got the certification anyway, and I talked to him about what that test entailed, and it was really funny. Again, won't spoil too much of it, but
that sounds cool. I mean, there's a certain analogy to pixel art in Lego making.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
In Minecraft, obviously, it's very geometric, and I can imagine it's going to get easier once computers start getting involved.
So here's the trick, and a lot of people do use computers, and that's cool, and you can do a lot of creative stuff without actually having to use Lego. There's actually Lego graph paper that Nathan uses.
What?
It's like graph paper, but it's the shape of Lego.
But it's 2-dimensional.
But it's the right scale.
Right. But it's what he uses for like for portraits, for like mosaics.
Oh, interesting.
As opposed to sculpture. He has to do those both.
Well, there's even Lego-based CAD stuff. I did a story about this last year. I think it's called I can't remember what it's called. But you can do. The problem with the Lego CAD stuff is that they don't necessarily tell you which bricks are readily available and like how to get the bricks that you've used. So even if you use standard bricks in weird colors, it's really hard to get the bricks.
With the 2D stuff, what's interesting, because just like pixel art, you're designing block by block, but because with Lego, you're not using 1 by 1 blocks, using all different sizes, the way you layer them, the brick stacking layer that's all that's your creativity. And the spaces in between the Legos, like the lightning bolt, silhouette shape, right? That is part of the mosaic.
You mean the edges of the bricks?
The edges of the bricks are part of the composition, because you could build everything with 1 by 1, and yes, you from a distance get something that looks just like, what Nathan or what other Lego artists will build. But you also design for structural integrity. You design for creativity. A lot of interesting stuff from that talk. Lego pieces are glued together. All sculptures are glued there. What was really cool was that he wanted to go to the exhibit.
Does he use cyanoacrylate, or did he say
he couldn't specifically talk on camera about what type of glue he uses, because it's not necessarily healthy. Like there are fumes that they don't want kids to use.
So cyanoacrylate.
So
or epoxy.
At the exhibit, one of his sculptures had fallen apart or had a break in it. So he was actually there to fix it. So he walked up to, there were people walking around and looking at these exhibits and the sculptures, and he just walked up to one and just like took it off. The Lego piece, examined it, and put it back together.
Yeah, they have a Lego store. I've never been to Legoland, but they have a Lego store at Disneyland with the most amazing Lego constructions I've ever seen. A dragon that is on top of the building,
right? And
huge figures. And I talked to one of the employees, and I guess they ship them there in pieces. They're massive bricks that have all been glued together. So I imagine if he took that off, maybe that was a glued together part. I don't know.
Every layer is glued together in his pieces.
Oh wow! Okay.
Every single layer.
Was the X-wing still in Times Square?
I don't think so. No, definitely not. The big X-wing, no, that was in Times Square. And one last thing from his, what was I going to say? I forget now.
Oh well, it's in the video, right?
It's on. We had a nice long talk about building.
That one will be a little while, I think.
Yeah, it'll be a little while. After we talked with him, I met with another pop artist, a guy who takes vinyl figurines and does shows the anatomy of inside of toys,
like Dunnies, or
like Dunnies, or like Mickey Mouse or Disney characters, and he carves them out and fills them with clay and does some cool sculpting. It's very cool.
The thing that I saw that I was familiar with was the Operation board game.
That's just the newest one. Okay. Yeah, that's the newest one. We saw the Operation board game. That's for a Las Vegas exhibit he did. Cool. The guy's name is Jason Freeney, and then the last thing we saw was the chief culinary technologist of the French Culinary Institute,
Dave Arnold.
A big, his Wikipedia page calls him a leader in molecular gastronomy. He is a leader, which is legit.
So he was one of the early people who figured out how meat glue works, I think, which is a glutamase, which lets you take two different kinds of protein and glue them together. And he's also done a ton of science, real scientific study on everything from sous vide techniques to he's done a couple of really cool hacks with those, the whipped cream guns, the ones that you recharge yourself with a CO2 or nitrogen oxide canister. So he's done things like pickling. You can, because they're pressure, you can put whatever you want in those things. You can put cucumbers in there with brine, apply pressure, and pickle instantly with no heat. That's using a whipped cream siphon. Nice. So he's done a bunch of cool stuff on that kind of front. But you saw something that was super awesome.
This dude is he's an inventor, and he loves food, and he loves experimenting with food, and he, just like Dave Chang, the chef that we talked to earlier this year, that we brought to NASA, they're business partners. They're just all about taking old, because people making food for as long as humans have existed, and taking technologies that maybe aren't in fashion now or have no purpose now, and trying to find interesting uses for them. So he is actually the director of the Museum of Food and Drink, which doesn't really exist yet as a physical place.
It's an idea.
He wants New York to have this museum that celebrates food history and food technology. And they did a Kickstarter earlier this year, to fund one exhibit of those. And that exhibit was this thing called a puffing gun. And it's puffing technology is something that was invented 100 years ago. And it's what allows you to make like
puff rice
cereal,
and Kix and stuff like
exactly,
that.
Kix, not Rice Krispies, because that's just extruded. But
oh, really?
Yeah,
I thought it was puffed rice.
Not yeah. He specifically said not Rice Krispies.
Okay.
But Kix.
It mimics what happens in popcorn, right?
Yeah. So in popcorn, when you heat up popcorn, the liquid in popcorn like vaporizes, expands, but the shell of the corn is what keeps it intact. And what happens when it pops is the shell breaks and you get the shape of the popcorn.
Well, but the starches inside the popcorn start out as solids, and they have a little bit of moisture. When they heat up under pressure, they become liquid until the shell ruptures, and then
right.
and then yeah,
it's
and then it immediately solidifies again.
Of the amount of moisture in the corn, which there is a lot of, right, in food, moisture, in low amounts, the pressure, and also the heat. Those three things tied together at a right combination will create popcorn. But for other things that have no shells, beans, rice, and other things, those things have moisture as well that will expand under pressure and heat. But no natural shell like corn. So
you can't get the pressure increase.
Yes. So 100 years ago, a scientist, I forget his name.
It's okay.
He developed this idea of puffing, which is to have a closed container, and he used like test tubes when he first experimented with this. Closed, sealed container, put it in an oven, and under extreme heat and pressure, the items inside that container would expand and puff once you opened the container.
So hold on. So they don't puff until the moment the pressure decreases? Yeah. Oh, that's fun.
That's interesting.
And so it's not like popcorn where it's popping all the time.
Yeah.
Once the container's open,
everything puffs instantly?
Everything puffs instantly at once.
So does it explode?
There are explosions. So this is the technology that kind of revolutionized cereal making. And the two things there are two basic types of cereal. You have the fried stuff, the cornflakes.
Yeah.
And then you have the puffed cereal. And Dave Arnold was like just fascinated with the history of cereal. Like, did you know cereal was first invented by like very like cultish ascetic people who wanted like the most purest food that you couldn't enjoy, and you just eat it and it would be like high fiber and you just go through your system and be nutritious. And
something to really ream you out.
And then people found out you could put sugar in it, and then it became this huge marketing thing.
Well, so the thing that I saw, they did a short documentary about the puffing gun, and one of the things I saw was that, like in the 30s and 40s, like the big cereal companies that we know now, Kellogg's and Post and all those, had massive like buildings full of these puffing guns, and they were firing them off constantly because they were making cereal in batches all day long. Puff, 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 puff.
So this exhibit that they kickstarted and they funded was to build a massive, like 3,500 pound puffing gun.
Like an industrial sized one.
Industrial sized one, manufactured in America, and that you pour like 15 pounds of whatever you want in there, run it, heat it up, high pressurized, and then open it, and it's a huge explosion, and you get the food everywhere.
But he wanted to try this with stuff that wasn't necessarily grains, because that's where they did it with corn and grains and stuff like that.
So the exhibit is great to demonstrate the history of puffing technology, but his interest is how you can apply this to like other foods that aren't grains and beans and stuff. So because any small thing can be puffed. So if you want to experiment, you can't experiment with a 35.
Can you puff bacon?
He said that they puffed like chicken skin and stuff like that, or they wanted to try puffing chicken skin,
like pork rinds.
He said pork rinds, like pork skin puffs pretty well. Yeah. They wanted to try doing coffee, but I don't think you guys got to do that.
No. So to experiment with puffing, you need a smaller puffing cannon, basically, right? Not industrial.
So you don't have to do 15 pounds of something at a time.
Exactly, and cleaning that is a big mess because things get sticky and stuff like that, or burns. So where do you get a small puffing gun? And it turns out that in Asia, even though puffing technology is like industrialized in America, in Asia it's a street food, and there are people in Southeast Asia and stuff that have made cast iron puffing guns, small ones, that they like put between their legs and stand over a fire and heat up to 100 psi, and then pop it and shoot it into the street or shoot it into a dirty sock or something, and then sell the Dave Arnold's words, not mine, and sell as street food, and you can buy one. They
bought one.
They bought a cast iron puffing gun, street food puffing gun from Asia.
I've never wanted
rigged it
more.
up with a bulletproof cage, and then we got to see them demonstrate 2 puff explosions before accident happened. So
nobody lost a finger or anything, right?
No.
Okay.
But it was spectacular and pretty awesome.
So yeah, I'm really bummed. Like, of all the stuff that we missed, I was really bummed that we missed Dave Arnold. That I missed Dave Arnold when I didn't make it to New York.
So those are the things that we'll have a bunch of videos on to make a long story long, and then I also, on my off time, I went to see 3 Broadway musicals.
You went to see 3 Broadway musicals?
I thought, oh, maybe I'll watch one Broadway musical. And after I saw one, I got the bug.
So
I gotta go again.
New York.
I gotta go again.
This is like you and the blackjack, but not quite as seedy.
It probably costs as much as the blackjack in terms of expense.
What did you see? Did you see Spider-Man?
I saw Matilda, which is the best thing in the world.
Is it
the
just
most amazing, wonderful, delightful musical? If you've read the Roald Dahl book, if you grew up with it, it will be touring next year. It is. I've been listening to the soundtrack all week long.
Oh my goodness,
it's great!
Wow, Norm's gone deep.
It is amazing.
Were you? Did you go? Did you you and Wes go?
I went by myself to a couple of them, and then I went with Wes to a couple of them.
Okay.
So saw that. Totally worth it. The trick is, if you go to New York on Times Square, there is a kiosk that will sell these tickets day of, half off, basically. You
Broadway tips. Untested.
So
it's the thing I never expected
don't buy
to
them
get.
online for $150 a ticket. Wait the day of. 3 p.m. is when it opens for 8 p.m. shows. Get in line. The line goes pretty fast, and you can get tickets for most of the shows for about 50-60%.
That works better if you have multiple things that you're okay with seeing. Sometimes stuff will be sold out.
Oh, yeah. So you have your list of your backups.
Like, if you want to see something specific, then buy in advance.
What else did you see?
I saw the musical for Once, which is based on the indie movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie, a lovely film, great soundtrack, and they turn into a
Are those guys in the musical?
They're not.
Oh, okay.
And it won the Tonys for Best Oscar. So in about 2006...
You mean Best Musical?
Best Musical, yeah. In 2006 or 2007, there was an indie film called Once, and it's set in
Ireland?
Ireland, yep. And it starred the lead singer of the indie band The Frames, indie folk band. Glenn Harsgaard, I think his name. And the story is he's a musician, he's down on his luck, and he meets this girl, this Czech girl, a young girl, and they have this 3-day... chemistry, and it's heartbreaking, and it's a lovely film with a great soundtrack, and also the song from the movie won Best Oscar for that year.
Oh, the best song that year.
Best original song. And then they had a real life romance that mimicked their movie, and there's a whole documentary about them. Anyway, turned to a musical, lovely musical. Won the Tony for Best New Musical.
So that means hold on, that means the guy from The Frames is approaching EGOT territory. He's an Oscar and a Tony.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
So that means
he just needs a
Grammy. He may have a Grammy.
He might have a Grammy.
Everybody has
I don't
a Grammy.
know. Right. And
better get on TV.
He just needs an Emmy. Right. It's not the actual actors, but they got people that kind of look like them and could definitely sing.
Okay.
It was really cool because in a lot of musicals, the band plays in the background. There's always live band, live music. Mm-hmm. But in this musical, the band was on stage. The performers were also the musicians.
I like that.
And they performed. And it was just well choreographed.
So kind of rock and roll for a musical on Broadway.
Folky. Okay. Choreographed folky.
But not like, not your traditional Phantom of the Opera style stage singing.
No. Yeah. It's I mean, there's a lot of it's a really cool. I mean, it was cool to see how different musicals could be in terms of production scale and how they use sets and what things they were aiming for.
And the third was?
The third was Spider-Man: Turn Off the Dark. I just had to see it.
Was anyone killed during your performance?
Nope, and it was a packed house. It was the tickets were cheap because no one really wanted to go.
Nothing like a train wreck to draw the crowds.
If you don't know what Spider-Man: Turn Off the Dark is, this is it's been on Broadway for 3 years.
People have to know what Spider-Man: Turn Off the Dark was.
I do not know what Spider-Man: Turn Off the Dark.
So you've heard of Lion King the musical? Right?
Yep,
it's one of the biggest successes in Broadway ever. Still sold out every night, even though it's been going for 10 years. Done 2 national tours, world tours, whatever. It's in UK.
It's the Cats of our time.
Absolutely. That was directed and created by Julie Taymor. Who
is she? Jeffrey Taymor's?
No, Tambor.
Oh,
no, Taymor, different.
Just checking.
Julie Taymor is a designer. She did that movie, that Beatles movie, Across the Universe, but very distinct fashion. Which is part of what made Lion King so memorable, makes it so memorable and so beloved. So a couple years ago, about 5 years ago, she was hired to produce a Spider-Man musical.
They wanted to get on the superhero train.
Absolutely.
Yeah, why not?
Spider-Man movies, 1, 2, and 3, the Sam Raimi ones, had made a ton of money, and they thought they could translate that type of action and that story, which everyone knows, to Broadway. And they hired Julie Taymor to design costumes and choreograph everything, and they hired Bono and The Edge from U2 to write and compose the music for Spider-Man.
And then they made crazy, like, it was supposed to be the most effects driven Broadway performance ever.
So
right? All sorts of wire
terms
work
of cost,
and crazy stuff.
Movies can cost $100 million, a blockbuster $150, $200 million. Broadway, like something like Once cost $15 million. Matilda is like $15 million. Spider-Man the musical cost $75 million to produce over its time.
Does that put it in like Waterworld territory?
It is absolutely. Well, Waterworld gets a bad rap if you look at inflation.
Fair, okay.
But in terms of big disappointments or overblown, production costs, Spider-Man musical is one of the most expensive musicals ever produced, and rife with problems in production.
People were really seriously injured, dropped from like wires.
They eventually fired Julie Taymor.
It's not on her IMDb page.
Rewrote a bunch of it,
like before it even came out.
Before it came
premiered.
Yep. The costumes are really elaborate and fantastical. And in the opening previews, the first couple months when they were showing this on Broadway 3 years ago, the show had to stop. Like, people just there was one incident where Spider-Man just got caught hanging and they couldn't pull him down, so so audiences stared at Spider-Man. They had to turn the lights on and rescue him.
So he did whatever a spider could.
And
was that during a performance?
During a performance,
yeah. Oops.
People broke their arms.
There's been an amputation. It's really grim.
There's
ongoing lawsuits.
There's a storied history behind this production,
so you're saying it's a mixed bag.
A mixed bag of crap. I had to watch it, and in recent reviews, because people have said, okay, it's got to be better now. They've polished it. They've kind of refined it. It's tightened up. So
what did you think, Norm?
There's always an intermission at these musicals, and at the intermission, the 15-minute break, I turned over to Wes and I said, "This is shit," because it was.
Okay, put it in film terms. Is this Man of Steel? Is this Star Trek Into Darkness?
I don't.
Is this Spider-Man 3?
The singing wasn't great. The lyrics were terrible. The opening had some, like, the bullying of Peter Parker was very West Side Story. The bullies snapping their fingers. But when they got to the actual fighting stuff and the action, that was amazing. And they had Spider-Man. I think there were like 8 different Spider-Man actors.
Did you shoot webs?
They definitely had the confetti webs that they're shot around.
Silly string?
Not silly string, confetti.
Okay.
Because not sticky. Spider-Man would swing across the audience onto like the balcony, go back and forth. There would be nice choreographed fights. The production looked expensive. The sets things would come down from the ceiling, from the floors, unfold on stage, like massive sets unfolding on stage. And the final battle is the Green Goblin flying across the theater, and Spider-Man also swinging and then landing on him and fighting and jumping off. And
so as someone who hadn't had a whole lot of experience with serious theater up until this point, you saw these in the order that you said?
No, I saw Spider-Man second.
Okay,
yeah. Matilda was absolutely the best.
So did you feel like did you kind of get if you were, let's say you were someone coming to New York without a whole lot of theatrical experience, and
sure,
and you wanted to see a show, would you have been entertained by Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark? Had you not seen Matilda the night before?
I would have felt like I got my money's worth in terms of spectacle.
Like, would you rather have been watching that or at home on the couch watching an episode of Real Housewives?
I rather would have been there.
Okay.
Sounds like a 3-dimensional experience. Sounds like it might be good for kids.
Yeah, kids loved it. And if you get the prime balcony seats, Spider-Man like swings up to you and gives you a high five.
Oh,
so
price of admission right there.
If you're in the balcony and you're seeing a Spider-Man like swing towards you, land, do a pose, give you a high five, and then swing back to save Mary Jane,
Like, get the camera ready.
Did like you
photos are illegal.
You couldn't web up your SLR in the corner.
Got to make an
there?
exception in that case.
Yeah,
I'll get thrown out. That's fine.
That sounds okay.
Broadway is wonderful.
There you go.
And you got the added NASCAR component of will someone get killed?
That made me a little nervous. Like never comfortable. I'd rather things go smoothly on the construction.
It's really anxious when you're someplace where like the unexpected. Like it didn't used to bother me, but now I get super anxious when I'm like watching somebody climbing, like rock climbing or something that's potentially dangerous. It's very
What changed?
I don't know. I think I got old.
I hear you.
So the final thing I'll talk about for New York, and I know
now that we're an hour and 20 minutes into New York
1 hour, is that I got to see the iPhone launch in person.
Oh, the Fifth Avenue store,
Fifth Avenue Cube store in New York.
Oh, yes.
How was that?
Which
saw those lines.
Experience.
Did you meet the guy who was in line for a week?
I didn't get to meet him. I did stand in the press crowd among the other the gaggle of reporters who were there to interview the first person.
Were you able to get into they let you in with press, or you just pushed your way to the front?
It was very easy to get.
Okay.
Yeah. I saw.
It's nice that Apple acknowledges us occasionally.
At least 10 to 15% of people in line were, not to be racist, old Asian people.
Okay, what does that mean?
Same here, man.
I don't understand.
I think they were there to buy and resell the phones.
Oh. If they got a gold one, it was a good move on their part.
They were not high-fiving anyone when going into the store.
But the high-fiving on the way in the store is the most uncomfortable part of the experience for me.
I have photos of this.
I get really uncomfortable. Did you see Casey Neistat? He was there.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay.
That made more sense to me in the early days, maybe the original iPhone launch when there was something to celebrate. But nowadays, I would feel like a prop, like they were using me.
Yeah.
And I'm not interested in that.
I don't like being a prop.
Yeah.
I feel bad enough waiting in line.
Yes.
I didn't
The
wait in
line was
this year.
incredidly long.
How
it
long?
went around an entire New York block and a half.
So what, like 1,500 people probably?
More than that. Easily more than a
Was it a wide line or was it a single file?
It was like 2 or 3 people thick.
And so if you had gone down, like, did you check it out when you went to bed the night before?
No. I did that morning. It was our first day of shooting. I was like, I have like half an hour to kill in the morning. So I went down at 7:30 and checked it out.
They opened at 8, just like they did here.
Yeah. It looked
and everyone, they took their photo. They bought the iPhone. They got, because the Cube is just on the ground floor or the surface streets, but the store is actually underground. And so everyone was escorted down the circular staircase, and then you could actually look inside the Cube, and it didn't look packed, obviously, like controlled, not packed inside the store. But people would walk out, show off the 2 boxes, because everyone bought 2.
Wow.
Why not? And then went on to do an
eBay.
interview.
eBay.
I've been kicking myself, because I was up at midnight. I had a gold one in my cart, that would have shipped within 1 to 3 days, and I didn't get it.
Wow. I didn't want gold. I wanted black.
I didn't either. It was to sell.
Oh.
But then I figured...
they'll have plenty.
I didn't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
Gold ones? Are you kidding?
No, they didn't have any gold ones.
No. I should have done it, because now they're like $2,000 on eBay.
So
that Casey Neistat film, I guess that's how you say his name. I don't know. He works with Tom Sachs a lot. And he was one of his, I guess, brother maybe worked on 10 Bullets and Colors and all of those. But he has a good YouTube channel, and he does a lot of like short films about modern life. And the one he did on the iPhone was, I thought, pretty good.
So the iPhone launch leads into...
Hold on, we should talk about Inventor
iPhone launch
so briefly. I know you have a great segue there, but okay. We'll talk about Inventor at the end. I'm sorry. I figured we'd get business out of the way. But iPhone launch. I was up at midnight. The internet, as with the 4S pre-order, the Apple's website held strong through the entire event. You were able to, like Verizon, at least on my side, I'm a Verizon subscriber, didn't drop the ball on getting me authenticated. All of that stuff worked really well.
I was shocked. I don't remember that being the case with 4S.
4S was an easy pre-order.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Maybe not in my case.
I think the .S's are less. 3GS I got, or I ordered online too, and it delivered the morning of.
Could you use 3GS online?
Yeah, because they delivered it to the office at Future. We were still at Future.
I don't know. Norm and I were in line for the 3GS together. That was a wait in line experience for me.
Yeah. Right. I ordered the 3GS, and it came at 10 o'clock on whatever the morning
release
was.
Day?
Yeah. It was... so I had one in the basket that was going to be delivered in 7 to 10 days or whatever the fast time was.
That's 1 to 3.
1 to 3, whatever. Yeah, it's shipping 1 to 3, delivered in 7.
Got it.
7-ish. And then somebody said, "Hey, you should check out Best Buy because they're doing in-store pickup." And I went and ordered one at Best Buy and did in-store pickup and went and picked it up at 9 o'clock in the morning whenever they opened.
Nice.
No line. Which was great. No line.
Wow.
Yeah, it was wonderful. Just to be clear, I wouldn't have bought it. I wouldn't have upgraded my 5 had we not needed to have one to cover for the site. But yeah, I thought it was a good experience. Did you wait in line at Stonestown or did you go to downtown?
I waited in line at Stonestown. I like that Best Buy tip. I wish that I'd been aware of that.
How long did you wait in line?
2 hours.
Oh, that's not
so. So you got in like 6?
No. I dropped my son off at school. Arrived there around, I don't know, 8:45. And I was out of there by 10:45.
So by the time you got to the front of the line, did they what are you AT&T, Verizon,
I'm
Sprint?
AT&T. I went for 64 gigabyte space gray, which is all they had. Well, they had different sizes, but they didn't have any white or gold. Those went quick. They had 4 total gold in the whole store.
So Best Buy had nothing but space gray.
Yeah.
And they ran out of AT&T 16 gigs first and then 32 gigs. And then they had all the Verizon and Sprint you wanted and all the 64 gigs
16
you wanted.
16 gig is not enough anymore.
I especially when you look at like the amount of space that your photo stream takes up and the increasing size of Retina games.
And also, if you want to, for things like software patches, if you're upgrading, I know it comes with iOS 7. If you're upgrading from 6 to 7, you need extra 2.5 gigs
just for the OS.
Just for the OS.
Yep.
Or, just to unpack it, to upgrade.
Well, and things like that, the amount of space. The 120 frame per second video takes 4 times the space that 30 frame per second video takes. Yeah. So
is that true? I know it's quad the frames, but it's also 720p. It might be lower bit rate.
Oh, it might be lower. It might be small. Yeah. So it would be. Yes, that is correct. I forgot it was 1080p, but it still is going to be a bigger file.
Yeah, I think a lot of people also do not take their phones off, or the photos off their phones when they upgrade from iPhone to iPhone. Like it's directly all their photos from however many iPhones. So like you, Jeremy, or who has had the iPhone since the very beginning.
Yep.
Do you still have photos from your iPhone 1 on?
No, I downloaded them in iPhoto. No,
yeah,
that would be too much.
I like keeping it there. It was good to see the history. It makes moments that much better.
That would be cool,
right?
Yeah,
you can see how many photos you took in 2007, 8, 9, 10.
That would be cool, yeah, because that's the one thing I kind of miss.
Yeah, I don't have that at all. Do we want to talk about the phone now, or do we want to save that for what we're testing? It's actually been a surprisingly big news week, so I'm not going to say it's the big thing this week, but I
haven't touched one yet.
Would you like to touch one?
Sure. I have not held an iPhone 5S yet.
It seems I like so obviously space gray. I think that the new finish is sturdier than the old one. The black ones had chunks taken out by this point, and I've dropped that once or twice. And
are you talking about the chamfers?
The chamfers, yeah.
Yeah, mine was pretty beat up. My 5.
Yeah,
but I just figured this was the exact same.
I don't know. I think that they've refined their process a little bit.
Hey, there's no square on the circle.
There is no square on the circle anymore.
That would interfere, wouldn't it?
So, are you using Touch ID, Jeremy?
Love it.
My favorite thing, and this is something I learned from Gruber, but you can see how fast it operates by holding your finger on the sensor and then hitting the power button instead of the home button.
That's inconvenient to do.
Why would I?
Well, no, you just do it for demo purposes.
Sure. Normally, you would
press the home button and just linger for a sec is what I do.
Yep.
Not working for me.
Well, you have a different
no false positive.
Norm. We'll work on that soon. We'll make some jelly finger casts.
There's some good will it touch. What do they call it? There's some good videos out there where people touch various body parts.
I'm sure that the first thing most people have done was take out their Johnson and see if
there's been those jokes, but there are YouTube videos of people touching their nipples.
The cat, the dog, all sorts of stuff. It just needs skin patterns. It seems like.
A banana peel works.
There was this delay in iOS 7 when you're when you open a folder, when you first turn on the phone and the icons kind of fall in. I don't like that animation delay. It's too much.
I found it really obnoxious for maybe the first 4 days I was using iOS 7, and I don't notice it anymore.
I thought it was because of a processor thing.
I hate the transition times.
Yeah,
that is
it's so slow.
I can't believe it got through Apple. User experience testing and out and released with this amount of wait time before everything happens.
So the weird thing for me is I don't tap into folders very often. Like I use the pull down and use Spotlight rather than tapping into folders.
And Spotlight's a huge improvement.
The new Spotlight stuff is really good.
I'm just saying, even for getting opening applications.
Yep, or even turning it on. Yeah. I have to wait for this fade up to happen. Oh. Like the lights are dimming on.
Now that you've said that, I totally noticed it.
I hate it.
And you're an ass.
Not only that, but if you sit here at the lock screen and it starts to fade down because it's turning off, if you try to interact with it during that fade, it says, "No, I'm fading, dude. You're out of luck. You can't interact with me."
Have you noticed the speed stuff?
There's nothing to notice it with. The iPhone 5 is plenty fast. There's zero that I have noticed that's faster on the iPhone 5S, except for taking photos, which is like having a machine gun.
Yeah, you can do real damage.
Yeah,
like if you're not paying attention, you'll take 50 photos.
Yep, and it's kind of alarming. But
I'm taking 50 photos.
Go for it.
There are apps that take advantage of it that I just don't use.
Take a person so that you get the smile detection and all that stuff.
Right. Let me delete a bunch of photos I just took.
You don't even have to. Just don't favorite them. It'll be fine.
There's this VJ app.
Oh my god!
It just keeps going.
It's going nuts,
and then
right?
it smiles. And now take your finger off.
54 photos.
Okay, so now go in and look at the buffer thing, and it'll hit favorites.
First.
The bottom, hit favorite. So the thing that I noticed about the CPU, the place I noticed it is in browsers. On the 5S, and if you look in the bottom, the ones with the triangle or the dot underneath are the ones that it thinks are good.
Not as good.
No, I know. It's real up and down that, especially if it's not people. The CPU on web browsing is immediately obvious. I found that Chrome, which is super duper slow because of iOS dumbness, is faster on the iPhone 5S than it is on my iPad, than Safari is on my iPad mini.
I haven't actually tried Chrome yet.
So I'm actually using, it has rendered my mini almost unusable.
By comparison? Really?
Yeah.
It's a big difference.
It's a huge, immediately noticeable difference.
Because Chrome can't access the JavaScript acceleration that Safari uses.
Well,
it's CPU bound.
And Safari on the phone feels like a real browser, like a desktop browser for the first time.
Didn't it always?
No.
Really?
No, I've always found it slow. The scrolling and things like if you load up Tweetbot, Norm, the fast scroll on your column of tweets is very happy making.
Did you notice that when you update to iOS 7, if you had to update to iOS 7, it prompts you to put a passcode in now?
Yeah.
And it gives you the illusion that you can't. I mean, the fine print in the bottom says, "Oh no, I don't want the passcode."
Yeah.
But by default, they want you to have the passcode. I'm not sure if this was the case with iOS 6 when you upgraded, but it seems like I never had the passcode on my phone, and now it's like, oh, put a passcode on to make you feel realize how inconvenient the 4-digit passcode is.
Oh, I disagree. I mean, that's a cynical viewpoint. Everyone should have a passcode.
I'm going to go ahead and tell you, as someone who's suffered from not having a passcode in the past, everyone should have a passcode.
I've been happy 5 years without a passcode.
Yeah, I used to work with people who were like, if you're going to have business information in this phone, you need to have a passcode on there just in case it gets lost.
Well, and it's not like it's a suggestion. It's that it's required when you hook up to the mail server.
Exactly.
My wife's phone, when she hooked up to her corporate email, had to have the immediate passcode. Like you turn the phone off and you couldn't even have it be a minute. You had to type the code in again.
Well, in that case, Touch ID
is great.
Is very convenient.
Yep.
So the bummer
alleviates that inconvenience.
The bummer is Touch ID requires the immediate setting. You can't say, "Oh, I want this to give me a 5-minute window or whatever," not having to sign back in. So but the thing is, it works. Like I don't think I've had it not work at all.
Right? Because on iPhone 5 without Touch ID, if I'm logged in, I press the power button on and off.
It pops right back.
There is a grace period where you don't need to type the passcode.
Yeah. I was also a little bummed that it's only 5 fingers. Although I find that if I do index and thumb on both hands, and then I gave Gina a finger so that she can use my phone too. Yeah.
My 6-year-old son was excited to have a finger. I gave him a finger.
That's pretty big of you.
And then I deleted it.
Good move.
Just to try it out. Let him try it out. So do you think that Touch ID is going to make it to the iPad?
I hope so.
Oh, it's going to be on everything.
You think this year?
Every new generation item is going to have it.
You think that iPad mini is going to have Retina
everything.
And Touch ID?
Yes. Well, whatever. Yeah. It's going.
Here's the thing.
Wow. That would make it and based on history, they won't increase the price.
If iPad mini is Retina A7 and Touch ID, it's like I will be in line the moment they announce.
All they got to do is give me Retina and I'm buying it.
Yeah.
I think Retina is more important than Touch ID, but
yes.
Touch ID on that would be it would be a great way to sell Touch ID.
Do you feel safe with Touch ID? I mean, it's kind of a convenience. I don't know if it's actually more secure. You know, I know that it's only in there for 2 days, but now my password can be broken if I'm sleeping or dead.
Yeah, or unconscious.
You're not going to care.
If you get mugged and somebody wants to get data off your phone, all they have to do is what's it called? What's the thing that Garrett and Thief has? A sap. Somebody saps you in the back of the head. Yeah. You hit the ground. They grab your finger, touch it to the thing, and then just don't turn the phone off, and they're in.
Yeah.
You're running around. Right. No, can't let it go to sleep.
Don't let it go to sleep.
Can't let it go to sleep.
Well, you know,
they should require a Touch ID again to change that sleep setting.
That would be good. So yeah, I mean, the part about the other thing that's come up is that fingerprints aren't protected by the Fifth Amendment like passwords are. So the cops can take your fingerprint, which they collect from you when you're arrested, make a mold, which is relatively easy to do. They did it on Mythbusters years ago. There's how-tos on the internet that show you how to do it with some gelatin in a very short period of time, and use that to unlock your phone.
Is that true?
That is.
They have tested that?
What, that you can use gelatin to unlock the phone?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah, absolutely.
For Touch ID?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Wow.
I
didn't
think
it was high enough resolution.
And it's unclear. Like, it seems like the fingerprints aren't going to be Fifth Amendment protected. Mm-hmm. So that if you were doing things that you do not want the police to know about, then that is a thing to be concerned about. Or if you're just concerned about, illegal search and seizure and stuff like that in general. For me, the types of things I leave on my phone are inconsequential to the point that I'm okay with that. And the convenience of not having to type in that code every time I turn on my phone is really nice.
Yeah. No, I just want to stress that it's a convenience advantage, not a security advantage.
Yeah. And there are also massive problems with using things that you can't change as your passcode. It means that if your fingerprint becomes compromised because you leave your finger on a bar, on a glass in a bar, then it is really easy for someone. So we just need to all wear gloves all the time. Is the lesson.
Capacitive gloves are going to make a big comeback.
And then you have to take your glove off to do the finger. Yeah.
The gloves have little hats.
Hats for the finger.
Or use your nipple as the Touch ID.
Can you?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
So what are the weirdest things that people have tried using?
I'm sure that people have taken off their pants and checked Touch ID. I have not tested that, nor have I tested the nipple.
It sounds like you live up to
seems like a video.
Live up to the mark.
No time like the present, Will.
Well, okay. Hold on. I only have one more spot. The camera stuff I found pretty good. Like the quality on the pictures is noticeably better. It's still nothing approaching like my NEX.
I agree.
But the flash actually is noticeably, it's usable. Like I used it to do a photo against the sunset the other day. That looked great.
I should have tried that.
I used it when we were shooting. When you shoot high-speed video, the flash comes on because obviously it needs more light for the high speed, and it didn't look blown out and terrible.
You mean when you did the slow mo?
When you shoot the slow mo.
Interesting.
It comes on if you're in a darker room.
I haven't had it come on.
The microphone is a circle now.
The microphone.
What are you talking about?
On the back.
Really?
What was it before?
It was a dot.
It was a oval.
Oh, really? I didn't remember that.
Okay.
Circles, Jeremy.
Circles are the new thing.
The Touch ID button, the inner circle is the same size as the circle icons on the past pin code.
Oh, you're freaking me out. You know so much about my phone.
And yet I had not seen one until today.
It doesn't look like it's the same size.
It's the same size. The pin code is the inner circle on Touch ID.
It doesn't. I'm telling you, it doesn't look like it. Maybe the outer
circle.
The outer circle.
I kind of like the feel of the circle now. It has that
apparently
the metal
button
chamfer.
The physical button is a better button.
Oh.
Well, the button was a point of failure on the old phones.
It was the easy way to get a phone replaced.
It's the best iPhone ever.
and the best selling iPhone ever.
9
although
that's 5 S's and 5 C's,
and they never in the past had broken down for example last year the 4S plus the 5 and how much that was. Although more interesting is analytics companies have said that based on their tracking, number of 5 S's to 5 C's bought / used is 3-to-1 in favor of 5 S's.
And this is using like web analytics?
Using some type of app analytics and web analytics. And the places where people had expected the 5C to sell better, for example in China, still the same ratio where 5Ss outsold the 5Cs.
I thought it was even higher. I thought it was 90% were 5Ss in China.
Yeah, in China, many more percentage.
Which is ironic given all this media about China wants a cheap phone.
Exactly.
Well, I think the kind of people who are in the iPhone market in China are probably the extra $100 doesn't matter, right?
Probably.
We're talking about China's 1%ers.
And I think UK had the most equal difference.
Well, so a couple of people, Ben, what's his name, who runs Stratechery, even said, look, if the 5C was the same hardware as the 5S, I would totally buy the 5C because I like the way it looks better.
Yeah.
I haven't actually been to an Apple store since they released the 5C, really? So I haven't seen the gold or the C handsets.
I've seen your phone, Jeremy, with that case. Yeah. Looks like a 5C if you put it down on the table.
It looks like my old phone. The gold is surprisingly subtle. It's much less. It's much.
Say it, Jeremy. Say champagne.
Yeah, I guess it's more champagne than gold. You know, in the commercials, I think they accentuate the gold color a little because when I saw it in person, I thought it was silver. And then I said, you don't have a gold one out, and the lady said, no, there's one right there. I said, oh, I had no idea that's a gold one. Picked it up, checked it out. Sure enough, but it's subtle.
It sucks for those people who bought the gold to show it off.
No, it's still baller, but it's just it's not. It's
Jeremy
not
Williams,
as gold as I thought.
Gold iPhone 5S. It's still baller.
I got too many titles for this episode. What were they selling the new cases at the store?
Oh, I don't know. I was just going to put it in my own case.
Put in your old case.
I
have a yellow case coming, so I can make a Bumblebee phone.
Did you see the 39-word review of the $39 case?
No. Was it clever and funny?
It was clever.
Biting, scathing?
It's a little scathing.
Okay.
I didn't trust that case, the Apple case, to give enough front protection. I like a little lip so that if I drop it, it hits
face
the front.
Down. Yeah,
it's all good.
So yeah,
don't give me lip, Jeremy.
It's a nice phone.
It's a great phone. Yeah. I was just gonna say, the processor is it's just nuts how fast it is
on spec.
Yes, on spec. That's what I'm saying. That there's very little takes advantage of it that's not in the photo app that I've used. But there is a VJ app that can composite two 720p streams together and do effects with them and broadcast that over AirPlay
Norm's dream
at the
app.
same time in real time.
YouTube DJ.
This is a crazy fast computer in my hand now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I hope something takes advantage of it that I use.
I found one app that uses the M7 coprocessor thing.
What is it?
If you search the App Store for M7 and go down about 10 things, it's there.
That makes sense.
It's a step tracker, basically. It's like Fitbit, but you don't have to have a Fitbit.
So let me just make sure I understand. That is always tracking storing your movement.
I don't know, but I assume if you have an app that ties into it, it stores it. I don't know if it stores it by default.
So when I open an app, can it look back in time and see what I've been doing?
I don't know how that works.
Okay.
It may be that there's an API that the app can tap into, and then it stores the data.
Yeah.
I know that some stuff uses that for like context awareness. So I want to say Maps knows that when you take it from, say, the center console of your car, and it can tell when you're in a pocket and walking because of that app, and it'll automatically switch over. Although I haven't actually tested that because I don't use Apple Maps very often.
Yeah.
I should probably do that.
As an aside, there's a ton of bugs right now with iOS 7.
It crashes a ton.
I've had it go to the Apple, like hard crash.
Springboard crash.
Yeah. And there's a bad bug with background updates, which is one of the things I was most looking forward to about iOS 7.
Oh, I haven't had that yet. I
started using Mailbox. The biggest gripe I have with switching to this phone is it's a new phone. It's a new hardware, so I can't get an Exchange account with Gmail, with Google.
Oh, right.
And so I can't get the push mail. So I had to find a new solution for that. So I tried the Mailbox app again, ended up really liking it. But there's a big problem. If you check their Twitter stream, it's just nonstop people complaining they can't get that the app is resetting and they have to enter their credentials every day.
That's the one that Dropbox owns.
I think so. Yeah. So anyway, it's an Apple problem, and there's just a bug. There's lots of it. Like you said, it crashes. There's issues.
I've had it crash, mostly web browsing, like loading a heavy desktop page. But the nice thing, like I said again, is that I'm finding myself always searching for the desktop link on web pages now, unless it's a particularly good mobile experience.
You know what I think I don't like about iOS 7, I think this might be only on iPad, is that the browser, the name of the website, doesn't give you the full extension of the page you're on.
That's on.
It just gives you the.
You have to tap URL. Into it, and I think that's really dangerous.
It's stupid.
Yeah.
Show the full extension.
Chrome does that as well now.
No way.
Yeah.
Really?
On mobile.
Chrome hides the status bar until you slide down, or the
so does
address.
Safari.
And I'm pretty sure Chrome doesn't just show like the main domain. Also, I don't know if I want to get into this, but
you're right. It doesn't.
Chrome shows the full.
I thought it did.
I think it's really stupid that iOS keyboard is all caps.
It's been all caps forever, dude.
It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
I don't care about that.
It doesn't matter.
It's a little less legible. You can't tell if the shift button is down or not.
Exactly.
Because your thumb's in the way.
Well, not just that, but it's inverses the symbol instead of the key, and it just doesn't work as well for me to. I hope that it's a new beginning. iOS 7, they're going to tweak it. It's going to get better.
No, I mean, the thing is, I think Apple's sticking to that. Like, the point is that they've been doing this since iOS, like the first iOS beginning where it's all caps. And I think from a usability perspective, it is much. If it's a digital keyboard, you're talking about skeuomorphism. Use the power of a digital keyboard and show what you're actually typing.
Well, so the challenge is that the lowercase letters are less legible.
No.
Why do you care? What you want to know if you're typing upper or lowercase?
Yeah. Norm's looking for reasons to be upset about iOS now that he's a new.
No, I'm not, because because having used the alternative and having especially typing passwords, and when I'm typing a password, I have uppercase and lowercase, and it's not showing on the screen because it's blanked out.
I've used both.
Yes, and but that's not a digital keyboard.
You're saying if it was that they would do lowercase keys?
Yeah, but so here's the thing: because of the font that they use for the keyboard, it's the A and the Q and stuff like that are different enough that they don't read right, or they don't read right as lowercase.
Well, I think this is a case where they chose design over functionality.
Does Android do lowercase letters?
Absolutely.
Is this part of your gripe?
No, it's not because it's Android. It's because I've used the alternative,
and you like it,
and the alternative is better for what I use it for. Gotcha. And I think, and it's something that Apple hasn't changed, and I don't think they will change. Because it's designy.
It's been really interesting watching third-party versions of the new design roll out over the last week, because they're real up and down. Like people. I mean, clearly people spent some time with the betas, but I don't think they really captured what the core concepts were in a lot of cases, and stuff's been a little weird. We still haven't seen Tweetbot update, which is the one I've been waiting for. So, anyway, the phone's sold out now. The 5S is sold out. For a couple, if you order it online now, it's like October delivery. And
stores don't have it either.
I don't know about that. I think you can probably do the thing where you go get in line at 6 o'clock in the morning and grab a phone. But I don't know about gold and stuff like that. It seems like either they were trying to raise demand for gold artificially by not making very many of them, or they weren't sure if people were going to be into it, or maybe they just finished the color late and didn't actually, depending on how cynical you want to be about Apple's marketing machine. But I was shocked that third parties only had the black phone and not the silver or the gold.
My money's on artificial, and I think it's a great move because it makes it feel like gold.
Everybody's special. If you have a gold phone, you're special.
Yep. Stop being cynical, Jeremy.
Why is that? How's that?
Conan O'Brien got a gold phone. That's all I know.
Is that true?
I don't think it's cynical. I think it's appropriately skeptical.
Yeah, I think given Apple's history of manipulating supply to increase fake lines and stuff like that, I mean, nobody's ever proved that, but I don't know.
They've got a COO as a CEO.
Why would you not pre-order phones at this point? Anyway, there's Steam news.
I love it.
This is crazy Steam news.
I love it.
Only 2 out of 3.
What?
There's a third piece of Steam
I know,
news
coming tomorrow.
We won't know. We don't. You guys will know. We don't. So the first thing is Steam OS, which is seems like a custom spin of Linux with optimized graphics drivers and graphics subsystem that they can then go in and continue to kind of tweak and manipulate to be very good for games, and presumably also stuff like audio and video streaming, things like that. But there aren't that many Linux games, so it also will do the Steam streaming thing if you have appropriate hardware on the other side, which will let you stream your Mac and PC games from your real gaming PC across your network in your house into your living room, so you can play them on the big TV with big screen mode. And that sounds like, depending on the price of the boxes and the kind of hardware that you need in them to enable this, that sounds awesome.
I think it's going to be NVIDIA only. NVIDIA had a big blog post to coincide with the Steam hardware and software launch. They also recommitted to developing open source Linux drivers or open Linux drivers.
That's the 5th or 6th time in the last 10 years they've said that, by the way.
AMD has had not to not talk about this at all.
Hold on, to open source Linux drivers?
Not open source.
Oh, to Linux to closed source drivers for Linux.
No, they've already been developing closed source ones. What they're doing is they're committing to better transparency with the open source community.
Got it.
So they're going to help the existing open source Linux driver evolve.
And I think that it's going to be the NVIDIA Shield stuff.
But I mean, the SteamOS stuff will be the closed source drivers for sure for performance reasons.
Yeah. And I guess that those are actually pretty good.
Yeah.
So SteamOS out by end of the year. They'll have more details. And then Steam Machines, which is just
there's
specs.
two phases.
There will be specs for good, better, best machines that OEM partners will be making, whether they're just low-end stream-only boxes or dedicated graphics boxes that can run all 125 Linux games.
That's it. There's only 125 Linux games.
It's about that much.
I thought it was 300, but it's hundreds, not thousands.
I expect that to double very quickly.
Sure.
Well, the thing is, anything that's built on like Unity or something that's a kind of middleware platform is relatively easy to port over, right? So
yeah, but I'm just saying I think it's going to become a target system now that this exists. When I saw the OS announcement, it's like fireworks started going off in my head. Things started to fit into place because I see the future as PC gaming being a little grim. Anecdotally, I don't know anybody who's buying PCs anymore. Everyone's buying laptops or existing on their tablets or phones.
Right.
And people who used to be PCs, they're all getting Macs anyway. And Mac is not going to be the PC.
You live in a bubble. We live in a bubble here.
I think there are a lot of people not buying fully built PCs, even though the boutique companies are still surviving. I think a lot of people are still building their own PCs.
No, gamers, absolutely. But I'm saying that the PC gaming industry, I don't know if it's going to exist.
Well, I don't think that those people who are buying Dell boxes and now buying Macs, those people weren't gaming anyway. So PC gaming is being maybe more focused, and maybe there's a higher percentage of people who are gamers who are building PCs. And
look, I'm not saying there aren't people who would always buy PCs in order to game, but there's a lot of people out there that gamed because they had a PC. Well, and I'm saying that those people now are gravitating towards their portables, and they only have a PC left for gaming. And if they don't have to have that anymore, if they can have a set-top box that is their gaming rig, then this is going to be a perfect solution for them.
Well, and the other side of it is that it's hard to get new people in if the initial investment is high. And while you can build a pretty nice gaming PC for $500, $600, $700, $800 somewhere in there, that's still a harder sell for somebody who likes playing Candy Crush but is into FTL on their iPad and wants to see what else is out there compared to a $300 box like a console or a set-top box or something like that you can just plug in.
In SteamOS and Steam Machines, you're still talking about having one additional box than people have now for a living room.
Well, it depends.
No doubt. But PC gamers have that box. I'm just saying that box is now going to move. They're going to be able to play it on a bigger screen, on a better sound system, in the comfort of their...
But maybe with worse controls.
Couch. We don't know that yet. That's what I was hoping Wednesday's announcement would be. When we saw Wednesday's announcement, and it was... You'll need a computer to run this OS. Oh, thank you. That's such a surprise.
300 lucky golden tickets.
I know. Yeah,
golden tickets. You got to buy a lot of. If you buy a copy of Half-Life 2,
I went to sign up, and there were already 50,000 people that had already submitted.
50,000.
That was like the hour that it was announced.
Well, so the thing that's brilliant about the streaming stuff is it gives people who are already invested in Steam and have already bought a bunch of games a reason to spend $200 or $300 on a box, and at the same time will massively expand their installed base really quickly. So that's always the challenge with a new, like in the console world, the challenge is getting installed base ramped up as quickly as possible. And when you're talking about a machine like a PS4 or an Xbox 360 or Xbox One that costs $400 or $500, like you're only going to get the people who are already invested in playing games and want to play the games that are only available on those systems. By saying, hey, okay, this is going to run Steam native games, but also we have the ability to play your Assassin's Creeds and your Call of Duties and all that stuff, the things that you're already playing, but on your living room in a more console-like experience, if you want to play single-player stuff that way, then they kind of, it gives them a shortcut to that ramp,
yeah,
I think.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see what that feels like, because the long-distance streaming services had a promise of zero detectable latency.
You're talking about stuff like
OnLive.
OnLive, yeah.
OnLive and Grid.
Everyone said
Kakai.
It felt, real time. It felt like a local console. I was always hesitant about that.
It didn't feel like a local console.
And then once you played it, it turns out it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's good for certain games, but not for games that require Twitch responses.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that the local in-home streaming, they call it, actually feels good.
My hunch is that you're still going to. I mean, our experience with the Shield, which admittedly is over Wi-Fi, which is a different situation than a dedicated box could be, because you could plug that into a lower latency, less interference wired network. But our experience with the Shield has been that things like Saints Row and kind of story-driven cinematic experiences are great, but if you're playing something that requires precise timing, like Geometry Wars, maybe that's not a great experience for streaming. So we'll see. Yeah. I mean,
most people are going to be on Wi-Fi with the Steam Box, I would think.
And also, all they do is be better latency than the Wi-Fi wireless controllers, which have a little bit of latency also.
Right, that's true too.
Yep.
So the SteamOS stuff looks really interesting. The boxes were kind of meh.
We don't know what the boxes are.
You mean in
the announcement was that the boxes were kind of meh. The thing, Valve is giving away, what, 300...
I've got a golden ticket.
Right, 300 of their prototype box. They're only making it so that they can beta test, is what they're saying.
They should invite all 300 to the Valve headquarters.
Well, 300 people is a small enough number that they can do something crazy for those people.
And then slowly eliminate them one at a time through elaborate traps and pipes and Oompa Loompas.
Is Gabe Newell wearing a velvet suit with a top hat?
Charlie, it's always been you. I'm giving you Valve. So and then they take a great glass elevator up to the moon.
They get into an elevator and there's a giant valve in the bottom and Charlie has to turn it?
That's right.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
I can't wait to see what tomorrow's announcement is. I was hoping that it would be, if we got the controller Wednesday, that tomorrow we would get...
software.
The goggles.
Oh, you're thinking all hardware. You're not even thinking like Half-Life 3.
Goggles.
I was
Left 4
hoping.
Dead 3.
If you look at the icon, it's two circles next to each other. It wasn't, it's a stretch, but it's wishful thinking.
The goggles are very... It defeats... they're counter to the idea of having the living room big TV. It's not in the same. It's related.
Possibly, maybe maybe you're right. You're right. There's something there, but I was hoping, because I want VR and
everlasting gobstoppers.
Anyway, it'll probably be a controller.
Did you see the thing on Reddit last night where the guy took the images from the different days of the planets and superimposed them and upped the contrast? When he upped it, I know it ended up being a joke, but when he upped the contrast, it looked like Antarctica, where the Aperture Labs ship was buried.
Was it Aperture Labs?
It was Aperture Labs.
How do you know that?
I remember it from...
No, Half-Life Episode 2.
What? When they're talking about the ship that was teleported, and they showed it ended up in Antarctica.
The turd in your Half-Life 3, Half-Life Orange Box review.
Yes, yes. Half-Life 2 Episode 2 is my least favorite of the Orange Box games.
Tainted the experience.
And it was the turd in the punch bowl for the Orange Box.
It was a delicious turd.
This is another. That's another.
Anyway,
we've talked about this before. I'm not going to get into this again because all it does is make people really, really angry at me.
We all expect Half-Life 3 to ship on this new system.
I don't think that there's going to be a Half-Life 3. I think that they've walked away from Half-Life.
Well, they definitely don't need to, but I think they'll do it.
There's this quote-unquote leak of a Left 4 Dead Source 2 game.
Oh, I think Left 4 Dead 3 is 100% coming.
Yeah, and will be next-gen consoles in this.
Like, that is easy.
Maybe that's what it is.
And all but confirmed.
I think that Half-Life Episode 3 is Portal 3. Chell versus Gordon Freeman.
I prefer that.
I'd be happy with that.
It's just so different styles of games.
Narratively. Well, kind of, until the Gravity Gun came into play. And then they became, they were inching toward. Anyway.
I'm totally excited about a console that embraces everything we love about PC gaming. Upgradability, Wild West development, access to the hardware, modding communities, distribution freedom.
All of the stuff in the Steam Workshop is... the fact that you can just download mods for Skyrim and not have to go through the massive install process and just hit a button and it's there is great.
I mean, the big advantage, and NVIDIA could have just released their own drivers and GeForce Experience software to let people build their own HTPCs, low-end HTPCs, and then do the exact same thing, because as Shield does.
But with Valve on board, it's much more likely to actually happen and or work and be supported for a long time.
The advantage of Valve is that it's a free OS, and you're not paying $100 for Windows, and you don't need Windows, even though you technically can install Windows on these Steam boxes.
Well, and they can, by adding the streaming stuff, they have the ability to apply pressure and get people to actually buy into it.
We'll see.
What do you think on the controller front? Do you think we're looking at a a Valve version of the Xbox game controller, or you think we're going to see some sort of crazy mouse keyboard hybrid or something that we've never even imagined?
There's got to be a mouse analogy somewhere. There has to be.
I don't know. Big picture works perfect without a mouse.
No doubt. But for the games that support the gamepad, but for if they're going to transition, I can't. If there's not some sort of a mouse track wheel or touchscreen or something that is analog, I can't see it competing interface-wise with the other consoles.
That is the thing. Yeah, you're right. Cannot imagine what it is, and that's the thing that I'm most cautious about.
I think it's going to be a motion controller with some sort of pointing access for the screen, and then you'll have like one of those Belkin speed pads for your keyboard stuff, and you're gonna. It's gonna be like a Wiimote.
That was the very last question in Wednesday's announcement, was what about input, and they said announcement soon.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
So tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock Pacific time, I think.
10 Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern.
Surface 2, you were there, Norm.
I was there.
You saw the Surface 2 in all of its thinner, lighter, slightly faster,
Jeremy,
slightly better battery life glory.
No, I'm actually curious because Microsoft iterates. Their first version always sucks.
Oh, they really iterated this time. They iterated the fuck out of this one.
So how did they iterate?
I think that people who compare this to the Zune analogy, it's nothing like Zune HD was such a big departure from the.
Well, but that was
Zune.
third or fourth gen Zune.
It was like third gen.
Yeah.
This is maybe closer to the Zune 1 and 2.
So it's brown now?
No, it's white. It's white magnesium. There's still 2 models only. Surface 2, which is the second version of Surface RT. They're still selling Surface RTs because they have a bunch of them they didn't sell. 350. You still see those commercials on TV now. Surface 2 is $450.
Okay.
A 1.5 pound tablet.
This is the ARM. This is ARM Surface. It's not called Surface RT anymore. It's called Surface 2.
Surface 2 with Tegra 4.
Okay.
It's about the same size. And I know they say it's lighter and thinner, but it's very, very. I held both a Surface and Surface 2 and Surface RT and Surface 2, and it's almost indistinguishable. So they're still targeting iPad, basically, a full-size iPad with a bigger screen, 10.6 inches. Surface 2 has a high-resolution screen now, 1080p. The screen looks great. It's IPS, really low reflectivity under the studio lighting even. Tegra 4, which is, as we know, very fast, one of the fastest ARM chips, 72 graphics cores, will be fine. Runs Windows RT. And I think right now, Microsoft, as of today, may be like one of 2 companies making Windows RT tablets.
So
all the OEMs have stopped
pulled
making,
out.
even Dell has pulled out of Windows RT tablets.
Because they sold so spectacularly badly last time.
The thing with Windows RT is that the Windows 8, Windows Pro, Windows Store programs, people developing for that will still work on Windows RT. So I think people are still making Windows RT.
Well, but only the ones that use the right APIs. If you write a C program, I don't think it works on RT, and because like MetroTwit, which is a Windows Store program, does not run on RT.
So people are buying these machines for Office RT, which will still come bundled. You'll get the full suite of Office, Word, Excel, OneNote, Outlook, all that stuff. Will work on the faux desktop. Skype is built in for a year of Skype international calling and Skype hotspots. So you get, and the camera is improved on the Surface 2. It's actually really good low light camera.
Still front only?
Front and back, 5 megapixel back, 3.5 megapixel front. The kickstand, which is the defining factor of the Surface tablets, now goes 2 angles. I didn't attempt to break one.
Can you use it on your lap? You broke the last one.
The Surface Pro one, yes.
Yeah. No, you broke the RT.
RT one, yeah.
Yeah.
The reason they did the second angle, which tilts it further back, which is higher, is so you can use it like at a standing desk, because they realize a lot of people have these Surfaces on countertops. The use case for a Surface is the countertop. It is not the lap. It is not a device that you're going to put in your lap, fold out the kickstand, and then put the touch cover, type cover on your lap, and then type on a chair, as some people in at meetings sometimes do. It is suitable for the countertop. It is suitable, I think, for a flat surface like a desk. It's suitable for a airplane back tray, and it basically is it's a all-in-one in its form of a tablet. The fact that you can hold it as a tablet and show people things, I think, is inconsequential, because it's still pretty heavy. 1.5. Holding the Surface in bed and reading for a long period of time, not so much. Pop the kickstand out, put it on a flat surface. Surface Pro now is Haswell. It's the Intel 4200U processor. 1.6 gigahertz, 1.9 gigahertz goes up to 2.6. Longer battery life. They say 75% more battery life. All that jazz. USB 3. There's a new dock. Yeah.
And it also runs RT or no?
No, that one runs Pro.
Okay.
The Surface Pro, Surface Pro 2 is like the first Surface Pro 1, which we have.
There's two of them back there, I think.
Is a laptop replacement. They want you to buy this for $900 as opposed to buying a MacBook Air
or a Lenovo
or a Lenovo Yoga
or
something
HP Edge or something like that.
Yeah.
So, but here's the fundamental thing is, okay, so it tilts back further. It's a little bit better on the lap. They changed.
I would not even say that's a little bit better on the lap. It is.
Well, it could be worse.
If you like using the Surface in your lap and you are tall, your neck will be strained less because it tilts further back, so you don't have to kind of scrunch your neck back.
You're not pushing your shoulders back and then pulling your chin in.
So yes, but in terms of so neck ergonomics better, but typing ergonomics not better for lap.
I'm shocked that they didn't, given that the rest of the industry has moved towards 7-inch tablets, I'm shocked that they didn't roll out a 7-inch model.
That is coming next year.
Okay, so only 2 years too late instead of great.
Isn't the keyboard going to be a problem at that size?
I don't think they'll have the keyboard. I think that there'll be Surface RT or, Surface RT, Windows 8.1 RT and Windows Phone 8.1 will converge at some point.
Their on-screen keyboard is great. Like the intent. Apple has spent the last 7 years convincing us we don't need hardware keyboards, and then they rolled out and said, "Hey, we have a great hardware keyboard, except for the touch covers didn't really work very well, and the type covers were okay, but like there was a big balance problem with." As evidenced by the lap issue, when you had the kickstand out and the tablet up, and then this big but super light keyboard on. They changed the accessories a ton, right?
They added 4 more accessories. There's a new type cover and touch cover that's backlit, thinner, lighter on both ends, more sensor points on the touch cover.
Did you get to try it?
Yeah, it's
better.
I still like the tactile. I need the tactileness of a type cover, and the type cover has less travel now, even by a millimeter.
Is that a
key.
good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's a bad thing.
Okay.
I think I want more travel to feel the response.
Are they actually going to sell? They had a DJ accessory.
That is an experiment. It's the Remix project.
So
the idea that the touch cover, which is basically like an iPad cover, but has sensors on the inside and
I've used it.
Screens,
I don't care for it.
Right. They can silk screen whatever they want on there and program it
and emboss the buttons
and have backlit embossed buttons and
backlit.
Yeah, backlit.
Huh.
And they can make it customized control for any type of like for example, the big demo they showed, and I don't know why they didn't have a touch cover for this, was video editing, and the Surface Pro, because it's a full Haswell computer with fast storage, fast processor, lots of RAM, and fast I/O. You could plug in high resolution cameras and do like red video processing, for example. Like they had a Red Dragon, and they processed 6K video in real time and scrubbed it in real time on a Surface Pro, which is cool. It was cause for celebration, the bells of celebration. And the idea is that people in production environments where they're not necessarily at one table, like they're moving around, whether taking their laptops in cars and working on the back of a SUV or around a set, the Surface Pro is ideal for them to have that the processing power.
Well, and a real computer.
And a real computer that they can show directors and have a really good screen and work in that type of environment. I think that makes sense. And a touch cover that has like film editing shortcuts and stuff like that would also make sense.
So I think like it seems interesting to me because it seems like the real market for the Surface stuff, especially the Surface Pro, exclusively the Surface Pro, is in people who create content. It has a really high resolution screen. It has a good pressure sensitive touch screen or stylus.
Digitizer.
Yeah, digitizer. And so everyone from like people at Penny Arcade, like you said, people are making films and stuff like that, are using them for that. I just don't see why a normal person would buy this instead of a laptop. Like that's the...
Because a lot of normal people don't use laptops. Like they use them as all-in-one desktop replacements, and all they do is plug it into a monitor and keyboard, and they're able to take it home. I
mean, I guess, but I'd still rather have a laptop that I plug into a monitor and keyboard, which is what I do, not quite every,
well, that's why they sell
every day.
They sell the type cover.
They have a dock too, right? So you just
there
slam it in the dock, and there's a USB.
Dock.
Yeah, that seems crazy.
The content creators are stereotypically Mac guys anyway.
That's the thing that's weird, yeah.
I'm not
creatives,
saying, not exclusively.
In the old days,
creatives are Mac guys. I think in certain professional spheres, a lot of that software is still PC only.
In the last 10 years, that's changed.
I'm a Vegas video guy.
Yeah, you're PC through and through.
That's right.
Jeremy Williams. We're running out of time, so I'm going to go through the rest of the stuff here really fast. Two new Kindle Fires announced, an 8.9 inch. They're both called HDX, right? And they're
HD Extreme.
Is that what the X stands for?
No. Okay. Explain to me why a Kindle Fire, whose ostensibly its purpose is to help you consume Amazon stuff, books, Amazon Instant Video on Demand, music, and games and stuff.
Toilet paper.
Why would you need a 2560 by 1600 resolution screen to watch 720p video?
To compete with Retina.
Because I think text at 2560 by 1600 is going to look dope.
Sure, but it will still look great at 1080.
I think they're trying to make real tablets instead of just content consumption devices. I think they've realized the thing that we said a long time ago, which is, why would you use a Kindle Fire, which is purely for buying stuff from Amazon, when you can go out and get a real device, Nexus 7 or iPad Mini or whatever,
Nexus 10,
yeah, for the same price, essentially the same price, or maybe a few bucks more, so if they're making this a better all-round device, which is what Matt Buchanan at the New Yorker said, and I actually trust his judgment on this after using it. This is a thing that is a real tablet. Like, this is their first real tablet.
Because they will still sell the Kindle Fires.
They're selling the Kindle Fire crazy cheap. It's $140 now, the 7-inch one.
If you are an Amazon only person,
yeah,
that is fine for you. So talk about the tech support.
So they have this thing called Mayday. There's a button. You tap the button, a little window pops open, and within, I think, 15 seconds, it's just crazy fast. And there's a human being there that will show you how to do the thing that you're having a problem with. So they see your screen.
Oh, I love it.
You see them. They don't see you.
They don't see you.
They don't see you. Them. But they can draw on your screen and be like, look, here, the button's up here. I'm going to do John Madden that shit.
Pantsless and dancing.
I'm going to be pantsless when we try this out. We'll do live video of it.
This is awesome. Why aren't more people doing this?
Free tech support. Instant.
You have to have a Prime account, I bet.
24/7, 365 days a year. I think you get it when you buy the device.
That's really cool.
And you get Prime when you get the device.
And you get Prime when you buy the device. The other thing
you do?
For a month, a free month of Prime. Okay. The other thing that they do is they have the ability to use any Miracast enabled TV, which I think at this point is probably Samsung, high-end Samsung sets, or anything that has a PS3 or PS4 hooked up to it. They'll be able to flip the video and just play it on the TV. So if you're watching Amazon Instant Video on the tablet, you can zip it up there, and then the tablet becomes an X-ray device that lets you see behind the scenes of your movies.
Wait, how do you...
No. When X-ray means, Amazon has a feature in Kindle called X-ray, which just means as the movie's playing, whoever's on screen, you see their IMDb.
It's like the Xbox screencast.
Second screen not augmented reality.
Yeah, okay. No. But no, I was actually curious, the first step, how do you beam it to your TV?
So Miracast is basically open source AirPlay.
And it's a dongle you plug into your
No. Well, it could be...
TVs have it built in
TVs have it built in. It's also a feature of the PlayStation 3 and presumably the PlayStation 4. They say PlayStation 4 on the list.
Cool.
So yeah, here's the thing. If the 8.9-inch tablet was $700 because they put the 2560 by 1600 screen on it, I would be upset. I would think that's really dumb. But it's $380 for a 9-inch tablet. It's essentially 16 by 9, so it's still that weird form factor. But great, more power to them if the displays are cheap enough that they can put a decent looking display in a tablet that costs under $400 that's crazy high resolution. That's awesome.
Which one are we testing?
We got both.
I'll dibs on 7.
So this is the market. This is Amazon selling these things at a very low margin in order to get you on their services, which is a different approach than Apple has, where they're making a lot of money on the hardware.
It's Amazon's approach to everything seems to be selling it at practically no margin, so that they can get market share, and then and then the underpants owners come and they make Amazon doesn't make a bunch of money. They're really highly valued.
Make a bunch of revenue.
They make a bunch of revenue, but they make very little profit.
Keeps people employed.
Yeah,
that's great.
So I don't know. I think it's really interesting. It's also super interesting that instead of having a big event or something like that, they just took over the biggest venue that they have and put these up on the homepage of Amazon. And I think they pre-briefed a handful of journalists. Like there was not a massive amount of coverage of any of these devices. They just said, look,
10 p.m.
Here they are.
We can, I mean, there wasn't a lot of brief coverage. They just said, look, we're going to put this on our homepage. Shitloads of people come here every day. They'll find out about it.
On sale now.
Yeah. And they're shipping, I think, in November. So we should have, we have a lot of Amazon stuff coming. We have a Paperwhite and then 2 of these. They also announced a couple weeks ago a new feature for the kid-friendly mode of the Kindle Fires, which is basically you can basically subscribe to Amazon Prime Video for kids, where they curate stuff and have things like Dora and
just like Netflix does.
Just like Netflix does. You have access to that. I can't remember what it's called. It's like Free Time or something like that. There's a stripped down version of that for free that comes with all the Kindle Fires. If you want to add the content that you don't own, like a subscription based service for content, then you can do that. I'm kind of creeped out by it though.
Big Brother? Why?
I don't want Amazon raising my kid. I feel like Amazon is not a company that I wouldn't want Sears Roebuck or Walmart to raise my kid. So why would I want Amazon to?
Well, yeah, you still got to watch over their shoulders, make sure it's appropriate. But I love Netflix just for kids. I mean, it's, gives Peter the chance to just browse and see what he wants to watch. And it's all stuff that might be appropriate for him.
Teach him how to deal with infinite content.
Yeah.
Infinite entertainment is the challenge our children face.
It's like Cliffy B once said about raising children. And who doesn't have a book of Cliffy B quotes about raising children?
Yeah, of course.
He said you have to teach your kids to deal with the Matrix.
Yeah, it's absolutely right.
More guns. And he guns lots of them.
Couple of small hits. There's an Edgar Tronic Kickstarter. Let's just talk about this next week because I think it'll still be going and it's interesting. High speed. It's a cheap, high speed, cheap, I air quoted if you're listening. High-speed camera that makes that much more affordable than, say, the Phantoms and the really expensive high-speed cameras. The FAA, according to New York Times Bits blog, is evaluating rescinding the ban on small portable electronics during takeoff and landing.
They have been evaluating for the past 6 months.
FAA they're getting close.
Has an advisory board which will make its recommendations at the end of this week to the FAA about how the regulations and guidelines should change.
And I think the New York Times story implied strongly that they're going to encourage use of devices in airplane mode like iPads and ebook readers and stuff like that during takeoff and landing.
Correct.
There's new iMacs that were stealth released last week or earlier this week that are it's a Haswell update to the last year's body. No big surprises there, except for they have discrete graphics on the high-end 21-inch model and all of the 27-inch models.
I believe the SSDs are serial, are they not? Or
they're PCI Express instead of serial,
yeah,
instead of SATA. Yeah, that makes sense given what they've done with the Air and the Retinas. And then the Inventurn. We launched the Inventurn earlier this week, which is our search for Adam Savage's next assistant. We've been accepting submissions for maybe a month and a half now. We've gotten a ton of super smart, very interesting people submitting their videos of things that they've built.
I can't wait to see the results of this contest.
Well, so we posted a video on Wednesday that had the first 3 entrants. And it was awesome.
First three
that we I mean, these are just the ones that we thought were cool. They're not like moving on to the next round or anything like that. But they are cool projects. There's a guy who's built building a rally car from scratch, like crazy scale, and both small scale and crazy scale projects. So there'll be another one next Wednesday, so you should check it out then.
And for people asking, we will find a way to show the entire submission video. So people can really see these projects in full. Yeah.
I mean, there's some rights issues because some of them have music and stuff like that, but we're working on it. And I guess I think we should probably wrap it up. I think we're close to time. I know Jeremy has some stuff he has to do this afternoon. Thank you so much for coming in, as always, Mr. Williams.
Thank you for asking me.
Anything you want to plug? You have some projects cooking? Are they progressing? We haven't talked about that in ages, it seems like, but. You'll be back when you have something?
Today, my appointment later today is to progress my projects.
Okay.
So I'd love to talk to you about it later.
Excellent. Norman Chan. Let's see. We have. I feel like there was something on the site that I wanted to make sure we plugged, and I can't.
Tons of stuff on the site.
The Tom Sachs talking room is up now. Should be. Actually, it's up now for us too. Tom Sachs is an artist in New York. He's a sculptor basically, and he does art that speaks to dudes basically. So it's a fascinating conversation with he and Adam. They both are makers, and they ended up being very similar and came at it from very different places. And it's like an hour-long conversation where they sit down with Winston the stuffed beaver and talk about things and making stuff and abusing Adderall and all sorts of other
grab a fascinating conversation. Frosty beverage, plant yourself in front of the TV and enjoy the talking room.
It's a TV show, on YouTube.
This is going to derail that conversation, but on the topic of sitting in front of the TV and being a dude, have either of you played GTA 3 at all? Or 5?
I have played GTA 5.
What do you think?
Do you want to play some music and we'll talk about it in fake outtakes
for a minute?
Okay. Today's outro comes to you from It's a Jackal. Here it is.
Hi there, I didn't see you. That's it.
Once you get above 5.5 inches, it doesn't matter. Add another 3 inches, make it an 8-inch.
That's it. The context of that comment was phones. Phones, ladies and gentlemen. I played a little bit of GTA 5. I haven't had a whole lot of time lately.
That's subjective. I mean, the game is so big.
It is enormous. And I kind of, I'm bad at those games because I don't, I just kind of like to get in the car and noodle around and see, go find submarines and airplanes and stuff like that.
Yeah. Other orbs for you to collect?
There are no orbs to collect, which is also playing Saints Row immediately preceding that game has made it made traversal feel. I fell asleep driving the other day.
It's not good.
No, it was. I mean, in fairness, it was probably midnight on Saturday, and I was pretty tired. But
that happened once when we were playing Borderlands.
You could take cabs. That has happened. Take cabs.
Cabs
warp,
but they're not fast enough.
Can't you warp if you pay?
You can, but even that isn't there's still you have to go through those emotions, and it's okay.
I think it's phenomenal. It is an incredible achievement. This game. I mean, I'm blown away.
Technologically or story wise?
No. Well, no, just technologically. Okay. And
are you PS3 or Xbox?
I'm actually PS3. I don't know if it makes any difference, but. I mean, I played all of them, and I finished GTA 3. I didn't finish any of the sequels to GTA 3, Vice City or San Andreas, but I played them. I also played a little of GTA 4. I wasn't totally nuts about it, but it looked cool. Mm-hmm. This one blows my mind. I mean, every single place I go, I can't believe that they actually managed to make this game.
So I really love the split, the three-way split on the players, because it gives me an easy way to, when I drive to the wrong end of the island and then or the city and have to then drive an hour back in the other direction, I can just warp to the other person.
And then the other person will automatically find the way back.
Yeah, so the other people keep doing things. When you warp into the person, you kind of never, it kind of shows you where they are, but sometimes you'll be walking along and he'll be at the amusement, Coney Island or whatever the pier is.
It gets you to immerse in that world.
Yeah.
And Trevor is maybe the most memorable video game character I've ever seen. Is
Trevor the third guy?
He's the crazy guy.
Crazy
I haven't gotten him yet.
Oh, then you haven't played that much, have you?
I really haven't.
Oh, no, you got to experience Trevor, because, man, is he nuts. He is absolutely insane. A little scary.
Yeah.
There's a scene involving torture that I was about ready to stop playing the game.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
What, did you play Splinter Cell, the Splinter Cell with the torture?
Probably
Conviction,
not.
maybe?
No.
It's a little different type of torture, though.
Okay.
I'll wait for it to come out on PC.
Yeah. That's not a bad strategy.
Or, you know what? If in a year it doesn't come out on PC, then I'll wait for the next-gen Game of the Year edition and play it there on next gen.
I was going to say we should play some multiplayer, but since you're on PS3, I'm on Xbox. Xbox version runs really well. It's this. It's smooth for the most part in the way that games like Brothers were. I was really surprised at how well Brothers performed.
I believe Rockstar's come out and said, we don't need next gen. We just got really proficient at current gen, and you can see it.
Yeah.
GTA 5 looks as good as I ever want. It's 720p. I'd love 1080p, but I don't need a game to look any better than that.
Well, I'm not going to say that. That's crazy talk. But
I would like to see physics improvements, AI improvements, but in terms of rendering.
The thing that I love is that they have changed dramatically how the aiming works, how the gunplay works. So it's not quite as It didn't reach like a Max Payne 3 level or like a real kind of lock-on target based. I'm trying to think, what was the game that you kind of do the lock-on and have a little bit of a bump up to do headshots. Like it locks onto the trunk and then you move the anyway.
Yeah.
It's really good. Like it feels really good. I don't get frustrated from the combat very often. I even went to the shooting range last night and did shooting range stuff for a while. Some of the missions are like the introduction for the second character is great when like there's just a wonderful moment where he does some absolutely insane shit and you're like, really? Are we gonna okay, why not? And then it goes bad for everyone involved. And
yeah, I have so little time. What I wish Rockstar would do as a 39-year-old dad, I wish they would give me the 4-hour mode where I can play through the best the game's got in 4 hours and beginning to end.
The critical path.
Exactly. Get an arc. I don't need all the missions. I just need to have a good time. Then if I want to, I can go back and play the 15 to 50-hour version.
Well, so did you see the thing this morning that was posted on, I think, Games Insider or some one of the future UK sites, Computer Games, I think, about the secret UFO stuff? This is spoilers, by the way. There's when you finish the game, there are places that you can go, and there's like petroglyphs carved into the rock walls. And when you unlock the mystery of the petroglyphs, then there's UFOs hidden all over the town, and like nobody knows what the end result of this post finishing the game quest is. But I absolutely love the idea of that kind of stuff, because that's like when I finished Saints Row 4, I was kind of bummed that there was nothing else to do. Like the DLC wasn't available yet, the story was done, and I could go collect more orbs, but I'd already done most of that, and like I just wanted to kind of fuck around in the world some more. And if they have this whole crazy deep
end game,
like cow level in Diablo 2 kind of thing that you have to do, that's awesome. That's great.
Yeah,
I do feel like the chances of me finishing this game are extremely slim.
On the map, you have question marks, which are freaks and strangers, and they're like side quests.
Yeah,
and I am ignoring them. I'm just going as fast as I can through the actual campaign.
Have you done one of the heists yet?
Yeah, no,
okay.
they're the best part. Because they take multiple missions to ramp up. It feels like little heist movies.
And it doesn't have the problem that Vice City had where it felt like busy work beforehand. Like in Vice City, you had to drive across town to get a costume, and drive back across town to get a gun, and then drive to the other side of town again to get the right car. And you're like, fuck, I just drove for 2 hours for a 3-minute mission.
Any of the characters can accomplish those tasks. So you can go to the targets based on the closest guy.
Oh, okay.
And it's they just call everyone and say, hey, I got the costumes. It's cool.
That's great. Yeah, I like it. I think it's pretty good. And I have not been the biggest fan of Rockstar games over the years. So
yeah,
all the people playing GTA 5, I just kind of want to fire up Rockstar Table Tennis and play that, though. Love that game.
No, you can play tennis in GTA 5.
It's not very good. All those mini games, all those side things always feel really... Like, I remember that being really cool in GTA 3 that you could go to play darts in the bar or whatever, and now it's just... They're like okay for 5 or 10 minutes, but not something you'd actually want to play, and that kind of bumps me out.
In my quest to get to the 4-hour version of the game, I have not played any of those side mini games, but I've read that they are good, that they are worthy of little side mini game standalone products.
The gun range stuff was fun. Like I actually it helped me understand how the shooting worked better.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that'll do it for us. We'll be back next Thursday.
Also, if you haven't watched our video from this past Wednesday, we did a PC build with Lloyd Case.
Oh, that was the other thing, yeah.
And we're also giving away a bunch of hardware, including a GeForce GTX 780 from EVGA. So
that's a pretty
watch
good
that
card.
video, find out how to enter, and leave positive comments. That's asking.
Or just leave comments. It doesn't. I mean, if you hate us, that's fine too. I'll probably block you. But yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Bye.